live. We're currently unlisted, so that should be fine.
I agree.
Okay, so here's a link. Unlisted. There you go. So that should be fine.
Is the not house. I agree. Test default volume.
Here's a link. Unlisted. I'm gonna lower you down to about 130.
Is
One.
not house.
Yeah, that's what I was expecting.
And then just increase the general volume on the desktop.
Test default volume.
Here's a link. Unlisted. I'm gonna lower you down to about 130.
Is
One.
not house.
Yeah, that's what I was expecting.
Is there a way for me to increase my volume on OBS? Like maybe in the... Do I need to increase my gain or something?
Mm-hmm.
Where do I go for that? I'm in audio. I didn't see anything here for...
Sorry, what are you trying to do?
I'm just trying to make myself a little bit louder because, I don't know, do I sound quiet to you guys on stream?
Let me listen.
Where do I go for that? I'm in audio. I didn't see anything here for...
No, you're about to level the rest of us. Sorry,
Yeah?
what are you trying to do?
I'm just trying to make myself a little bit louder because, I don't know, do I sound
I
quiet
mean,
to you
it
guys
could
on
afford
stream?
to be boosted, but it's not. Let me listen.
Because I've got everything on my end just set up to max.
Where
do I go for that?
I think we're all
I'm in
pretty much at the
audio.
same volume,
I didn't
which
see
is
anything here for...
what you
you're about
want,
to
I
level the
think.
rest of us.
Cool.
Yeah.
Okay, so if that's the case, then I will edit the stream to be public, and then we can go from there. Public. Done. Save. Okay, refresh the page. Are we public? It looks like it.
And we're live.
Yeah, boy. Let us just go ahead and share a few things.
That's
Yeehaw.
ominous.
Okay, well, it looks like
Are you being intentionally vague?
looks like that person got the notification, so that's cool.
Looks like that person got the
No.
point.
I just need to hide Discord here real quick, but I forgot which one that is. Let us go to studio mode and fuck around and find out.
Oh, I'm scared.
Okay, I'm going to transition that one real quick, just so I can hide Discord, and then just spam this in the wall.
Not.
Don't mind me, you may discuss things amongst yourselves.
So we pretty much know what we're in for with part 2 of this. Let's talk about what we did last night, though. What movie did we watch, Ubu? Oh, he's deafened.
We watched Black Panther Wakanda sometimes.
Well, you watched it. I only joined halfway. So I can't really give a proper impression of it, but I will say what I saw was not encouraging.
It was kind of shite for someone sitting there throughout the entire thing, and I found it to be very, very, very boring.
I can't give specifics. I don't remember a single thing about anything I saw.
I'll talk about it more once I'm done concentrating over here. Multitasking is not my best suit, my best trait.
Neither.
I don't know. Try and discuss some of the things that you did see and what your thoughts were about it.
So I don't even know where to begin.
Thoughts on the CGI? Go from there.
A little hard to tell because we watched a greatest value edition of the movie, but it seemed like it had that problem that a lot of Phase 4 MCU has, which to be fair, actually some of the previous Phase movies had, where just the entire screen is just digital and it looks really obvious.
Mhm.
Not a very good blend of practical and CGI. It just seems like the default was to always go to CGI. I think I saw one practical shot with one of the villains, one stunt shot of him leaping up into the air, but it was literally like half a second, and then they immediately switched to this weird, noodly looking CGI as he fucking like flies through the air with his fucking wing shoes. It looked so weird.
Yeah, no, the CGI in this movie was kind of all over the place. It was
Well, that's
kind
a
of
good
hard.
question. Was the
What
CGI better or worse than the first film?
I would say that the
Hmm.
CGI overall was worse than the first film, from what I could tell. The first film had some pretty good CGI in the start of the film. It's more so the end where the CGI kind of like started trailing down a bit. I'm
If
not.
oh, so
Yep.
you go.
I'm not that like anal about the CGI, especially because I understand that they were having a bit of a time constraint issue. I think they had something like 2 weeks to get the final thing out, so I'm not too fussed about that one. But yeah, the CGI in the first movie was not the best towards the end, but I still think it was better than this film overall.
I think the reason for that is because the first film played to its strengths of limitations. I remember there being a lot more practical elements in that film, and it was just more small scale overall than what they tried to do with Black Panther 2, and that's where the seams like really shone. When you have action scenes where everything is digital and everyone's just composited on it if they're not like a CGI double.
Black Panther 1 was still made during the age of Marvel, where they still had a decent level of practical elements attached to their CGI, and the CGI wasn't that noticeable. Nowadays, it kind of feels like anytime you do see CGI, even if it's like really well done CGI, it's very, very easy to tell. I mean, even watching something like Eternals, which had the best CGI in Phase 4, hands down, there were still elements that you could be like, okay, well, I can still tell what the CGI is, yeah. And I think we now know the reason for that. It's because currently at Marvel there's a very big emphasis on crunch. Um, CGI artists not being given enough time to work with the material that
Yeah,
they
they're
have.
working on so many projects at once. Even with all the studios they're outsourcing to, it's just the workload is insane.
I remember when the first few episodes of or not even the first few episodes of She-Hulk, just the trailer came out. People were dunking on the CGI model for She-Hulk like tremendously, and for good reason. The CGI model looked fucking awful in the trailers, and yeah, I think one of my favorite memes was just the I've been hired by Marvel to do the CGI. I can't wait to start my first day. 1 year later, I've just finished animating the She-Hulk twerking scene. My life is a mess. I thought that one was pretty funny. But yeah,
Oh
no,
dear. Could be worse. You could be a visual effects artist on The Boys.
I feel like that one would at least be a little bit more fun. I, c-
It
I, c-
depends where you derive your sense of fun from, I
I
suppose.
can't imagine working at Marvel and having fun, not with like, because I remember there was a wee while ago like a open letter from a former employee basically complaining how rough it was working at Marvel with the time constraints that they have to get these projects out. And I mean, I can absolutely believe it because
What VFX house were they a part of?
I can't remember. This was a year or so ago. They were basically just exhausted, had to stay away from home for hours or days or weeks on end. Um,
Spider-Man, Stay Away from Home.
yeah, that would be the next title. But yeah, no,
Or Spider-Man homeless.
as someone who watched the
I'm
majority of
disappointed it
Black
wasn't
Panther,
that.
I had to quit halfway into the movie to go have a massive shit, which was more important than watching the movie. Um, it was not a good time. I was very bored. This movie definitely suffered from a lack of T'Challa. I definitely think the right call to make for this film would have just been to recast T'Challa as actor,
Yeah.
because this movie definitely suffers without a main lead. Um, Shiri, I don't think is that capable of carrying this movie. She was far better off as a side character with limited screen time, or at least with an accompanying character to play off of. The main, the actress that plays Shiri, I don't think did that great of a job carrying the film. She was always better when she was accompanied by someone else. The actor who plays M'Baku, the big like dude from the mountains, I thought he was like easily the best part about the movie. He had probably my favorite line when he refers to the one Dora Milaje warrior as a bald-headed demon, and I lost my shit laughing. It was the funniest thing I've heard in Marvel Phase 4 by this point. It was great. His delivery as well was just on point. Um, I can't remember the actress's name. Darth, I think you would. The lady with the long black hair who like.
Lupita Nyong'o.
Oh yeah, Lupita. What's her last name? Nyong'o.
Nyong'o.
Okay, in Nyong'o. Sorry. I think she did a really great job with the screen time that she had. I definitely would have preferred her as the new Black Panther compared to Shiri.
Yeah.
I don't think Shiri has the physical presence that T'Challa had, and if they really wanted to go with a female Black Panther, I feel like so what was her name again?
Lupita Nyong'o.
I'm just gonna call her Lupita. I think Lupita would have been a better choice to make overall. She had a far more captivating presence about her. She was a lot more serious in her scenes, and she was a lot more capable of being taken seriously. Shiri was a twig. No offense to the
Man,
actress.
that's a good point. They really took the girl from Black Panther 1 who said, "What are those?" and then made her the main character.
Yeah. I mean, I can understand the
Honestly,
pressure that
quite
they
incredible.
had with what happened to Chadwick Boseman, and needing to still get a movie out in time, or even with
I
minor
can't just
delays.
fucking recast.
No,
I don't
absolutely.
understand this awful stigma against we have to preserve the actor that played this character to the point that we'll fucking digitally resurrect them in the future.
No,
Like,
but you
oh my
see, the
god.
funny thing is that they are currently recasting another character after the actor died. Thaddeus Thunderbolt Ross. He played the general in Captain America: Civil
Oh
War.
wait, yeah, you're right.
The
Yeah,
actor
he's now
who played,
Harrison
yeah,
Ford.
it's now Harrison Ford. They aren't afraid to recast. I mean, the earliest example of a character being recast is Iron Man 2 with Rhodey. They swapped
Yep.
actors out between films. And even Mark Ruffalo, a quote unquote main character in the MCU, they switched out
True.
Edward
It,
Norton
it
for Mark Ruffalo.
genuinely is just a recent thing, and I wonder if it has to do with the advancements in human CGI recreation technology that they're like, oh
No, but
wait, no, hang on.
no, but Chadwick Boseman is the outlier. I don't understand why they wouldn't just switch his character out or the actor out, because yeah, like you have other examples of actors being switched out several films later. I mean, everyone understands that Chadwick Boseman was a G. I think he was perfectly cast as T'Challa, but at the same time,
He did a decent job.
if you are trying to preserve your story and you're trying to make an engaging sequel, it is so fucking silly to start your movie off with the main character from the last movie and the Avengers team up movies dying, because that's how this movie opens up. Shiri's trying to save T'Challa from dying from an unknown illness. They don't even
Unknown
specify what
plot
it was.
disease.
Yeah, an unknown plot disease. They
That's
don't
kind of.
specify what it is,
Is it just
and
me or is that kind of gross?
it is kind of gross because it's you're kind of, I don't really know how to explain it. I just felt really bad for the character and fans of the character at the
It
start of
almost
the
feels
movie.
exploitative. Like they're trying to get the emotional resonance from the fact that he actually died in real life from
Well,
cancer and put it
you
into their
remember
shitty comic book film.
you remember after Stan Lee died, the next film that came out, I think it was what was it? Was it Captain Marvel?
I think it was, yeah.
I think it
'Cause I
was
think it
Captain
said like
Marvel.
"Thank you, Stan" at the end or something.
No, that movie started off with a Stan Lee like cameo montage in the Marvel credit
Oh
sequence.
yeah.
Yeah, so they replaced the normal one with Stan Lee, and then they did it again now with Chadwick Boseman. I mean, you could still have that in this movie and have Chadwick replaced by another actor.
Yeah,
Like,
and
I don't,
that's probably the best way to do it.
I don't see why that would be something you don't do. But yeah, overall thoughts on the movie was, I wasn't necessarily disappointed because I didn't have high expectations for this movie going in, Phase 4 of Marvel has just been kind of terrible. For the most part, there's a few things that I like here and there, but as a whole, it's a fucking mess.
It's
And
time for Marvel to stop.
either stop or take a very long hiatus just to like recollect their thoughts.
Well,
But
it'll never ever like stop. That's
no, it
basically
won't.
what I mean, is to just take a long hiatus,
But I
have
mean,
some
they
new
have
creatives pick up the slack.
they have like 20 to 30 more films planned out for like the next 10 years. So
Jesus
I
fucking Christ.
there's no way they're going to stop with the amount of money that this franchise is generating.
The Marvel machine is a chumbling.
Oh, it's disgusting.
Yeah, every movie nowadays just feels more and more like it's just being sludged out.
I guess
I
I've just got to take the Star Wars approach, which is just to ignore everything except for projects that seem like they might be promising, and then if they're good, to support the fuck out of them and just pretend the rest of it doesn't exist.
Which is a real shame to be in a state like that.
Yeah.
It's funny that T'Challa died twice in universe in the span of 2 to 3 years. Yeah,
Wait, yeah, true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
because T'Challa
He's like, I survived the
was
blip, and then he's like, oh fuck, finna hit out. It's like, what the hell?
He technically soft died in Black Panther 1 as well.
Soft die!
no, he didn't soft die. I think he was actually dead. They had to resurrect him with the flower.
Yeah.
So he's
which-
actually died 3
interesting,
times
the
in
flower can do
universe.
that.
So yeah, imagine taking an L that many times within the span of 2 to 3 years. That's unfortunate.
It is.
But yeah, no, we're not really here to be talking about Black Panther. I don't really have any more overall thoughts to give unless you guys do.
No.
No,
No?
I think I've said my piece.
Yeah, I've said my piece too. If you guys are interested in watching it, go give it a try. You know, do whatever the hell you want. It's your money. I wouldn't recommend it. I think there's other stuff you can probably go and watch, like that one thing that's on cinemas. You know the one I'm talking about, yeah? That one?
No.
Absolutely.
I actually don't.
Yeah, what the fuck are you on about?
Just watch that one, okay? Just watch
There
that
is no
movie.
that one for me this year. That's the depressing thing. Everything else has just been like, oh yeah, I guess I'll watch it if a friend's inviting me. But other than that, it's like, oh my god, there's nothing I actively want to seek out and
The
watch.
only movie that's coming out
Yeah.
recently that I actually care about, or am at least
I didn't even know about
semi-interested
that
in.
movie until like 2 months after it came out, and then I was very pleasantly surprised.
Oh yeah, no, that was also a movie that I flew under my radar until Uwe was like, "Watch this with me or else." I was like, "All right." So I watched it, and nothing else happened. The only movie I'm looking forward to, at least semi-interested in, coming out at throughout this year would just be the new Avatar: Way of Water movie. That one at least looks like it could be somewhat fun to watch, or at least just different. The CGI looks fucking decades ahead of anything coming out of Marvel nowadays, so I should be
That's such a low bar though.
um yeah, true, I guess. But yeah, no, that's
Honestly,
enough.
the thing that's had the best visual effects has genuinely been Andor, and that's probably because there's such a huge emphasis on practical effects, and not just in like, oh, we have practical puppets for aliens like The Force Awakens did. Just you can tell there's a lot of on-location shooting, and oh my god, it makes things look so fucking good.
I saw the one episode with you. I think it was episode 4 of Andor, and it was pretty good from what I could tell. I mean, I haven't been too interested in watching it mainly because Star Wars isn't my thing. Whatever thing I had was immediately
That's
eradicated
why
by
Andor is the
Kenobi.
perfect show for you.
Yeah, no, I'll probably end up giving that a watch sometime, and then we'll. Uvu's gone. Well, we'll wait for him to get back before we start the video. Oh, there we go.
He's back.
He's back. But yeah, we might end up doing an episode talking about Andor. Just
Oh please, yes. God,
we don't
I
we don't need to cover any
fucking
video on it or anything. We can
simp
literally
for this
just
show
talk about
hard.
it for a little bit. But that won't be for the next 5 to 6 weeks because I've already got those videos planned out with guest appearances. So look out
Yeah,
for
it's
those
all
ones.
good.
Now before we start this video, I wanted to cover a few things Anomaly said the last time we looked at him. I kind of glazed over them a little bit because I was already in brain melt mode, but I'm a little bit fresher now. I've had a energy drink. I'm a little energized, electric boogaloo style. So I mentioned last time that there was a bit of a Twitter spat that he was responding to. Now, what that's in reference to is either a year or two ago. Think I think it was early last year, maybe like January, February, around there. Anomaly Inc. was part of a Twitter spat talking about the Raimi movie the Raimi movies, specifically Spider-Man 1. And he was arguing with people who were pointing out the same issues that I've pointed out in my video, the same issues that we were kind of talking about yesterday, not yesterday, last time. Well, if you aren't watching these live and you're catching the recaps, then maybe it was yesterday for you. I don't know. But the point was that he was having an argument with a lot of people who were giving these issues forward, and his main counterpoint wasn't actually defending the movie. It was shitting out Into the Spider-Verse. So his main line of thinking was, oh, so you think this movie is bad? Well, you aren't going to think that movie is bad, because if you do, then you have to say this other movie is also bad. And he listed his example as the one where Miles gets his powers the next day, and then he's just like crawling around the high school building um, during broad daylight. And he says, well, if people think Peter Parker in the Raimi movie is Spider-Man after he punches Flash, then people have to see Miles and therefore discover that he too is also Spider-Man. Now, the reason why I have a problem with that argument is that it's nowhere near the same thing, because in the Raimi movies, tons of people see Peter do what he does, but in Into the Spider-Verse, we only get one confirmed person seeing him. The reason for that is because Miles starts doing his delinquent shit during class time. You see several scenes of kids in class studying or doing schoolwork with their teachers. There's even a gag where he like hits the window and people think it's a pigeon. The reason why we see a few students outside is because I just assume they have a free track or a free period where they can just do some schoolwork for another class, do some homework, catch up, sleep, I don't know, do whatever the hell they want. None of the children that are outside actually see Miles doing the stuff he does. The only person who notices is Gwen, and we can attribute that specifically to her use of spider sense, or even just because she's looking in that general direction. But everyone else that we can see in that vicinity is preoccupied in their own conversations, they're on their phones, they're doing homework, they're doing
They
their
are
own
playing
thing.
with a worm.
So they are playing with their worm, yes, that is correct.
They out here playing with they worm.
Tycob, yeah, that's correct. That is a whataboutism argument, but it's a wrong whataboutism argument because he gave that example as a be all end all kind of thing where it's like you have to agree with me or else. And he didn't really
Or else she'll fucking get you.
he didn't really
He'll make it look
strengthen
like
it
an
too
accident.
much. He kind of ignored anyone who pointed out the arguments that I just listed, and he just says that, oh, we're dick riding the movie, we're Raimi haters, we're this, that, and the next thing, just the standard Anomaly kind of behavior. Now, a lot of his arguments that I saw the last time we covered him seemed to be directly targeted towards the people that he was arguing with on Twitter, because I was around when this was happening. I saw the people he was arguing with and the arguments that he was making, and I found that particular level of pettiness to be rather funny, because this was more than a year ago. I'm talking like January, February of 2021. So this was a while ago, and the fact that he went ahead and made a 3 hour and 30-minute video and he still had time to dish out clapbacks to people who made fun of him on Twitter more than a year ago is very, very sad and very, very pathetic. Especially when you're wrong.
Certainly seems like one to not let go of a grudge.
He really isn't. I caught on that last time, but I felt like I didn't really want to contribute too much to that point because it wasn't adding anything to his video. It felt more distracting than anything else, but since we're starting it off now, I thought I'd just give my thoughts on those opinions on those statements, and then just carry on with the rest of the video. If
Alright,
if he
let's
brings
get
it up
right
again
into the nut.
more, I'll probably end up just ignoring it again because it just feels like he's repeating himself by that point. But yeah, that was that. So I'm going to transition over to the watch together. There we go. So now people in chat get to see what we're actually looking at. So the last thing that we talked about before we wrapped up was Anomaly talking about Peter's suits.
Is it the same link? Because
Oh, do you not have the link? Ah, right. 1 second. Just I just realized I did not give you guys the link, so I'm just going to
We're very
transition.
democratic here. Even the hosts have to watch the stream.
Copy. Okay, so that should take you to the watch together link. The other one timed out.
Thumbnail got cut off, so I just read that like a caveman. Why bad MCU films still succeed?
Demonetized again!
Me demonetized? Impossible.
People who don't let go of grudges can be real sad to
Don't
see. I
leak the link
agree.
this time. We'll learn from our mistakes and probably do it again.
Okay, so you guys are in here now, so let us
Yep.
turn back on Discord and then
Compressed
transition
Uncle
back.
Ben in the thumbnail is indeed a vibe.
Crunkle bin.
Crunkle Ben. That is Crunkle Ben.
Oh, that's the one that he released recently, like 2 or 3 weeks ago.
He comes from a parallel universe where everyone is 4:3 aspect ratio.
Unfortunate.
But he is 16:9.
Okay, so I don't know how much of the video that you guys remember from last time, but I assume it won't really matter because we can just ignore it. It was bad, so
I'm sure he'll repeat himself.
we could just pretend like the first hour and 12 minutes was actually good, and we can just argue in good faith from here on out and just
Okay.
assume that it's going to be good. So who knows?
Outrageous
Let's go.
outfits.
Oh wait, I can do the thing.
Why are you pausing, Darth?
Outrageous outfits. And so
Outrageous
he
outfits.
designed his own outrageous outfit, hence the Spider-Man costume.
Anyway, the match gets underway, and not realizing that it's going to be a cage fight, Peter
Oh
starts
god,
to
I
freak
forgot how
out while
terrible as a
Bonesaw
mic
gets
audio
excited.
is. Ugh.
Speaking of mic
Very
audio,
trebly.
could people in chat please tell us if we sound good or bad, or if I need to adjust anything? I played around with the settings before we started the stream, so hopefully it sounds better than last time.
Don't worry, people love to complain. I'm sure they'll let us know.
To the 12 viewers in stream, please complain
lot
as
of-
much as possible.
It's a fair amount
Blah,
of
blah,
viewers,
blah,
I
blah,
have to
blah.
say.
Complain as much as possible. Okay, we good?
Yep.
Let's go.
To the point he damn near ruins
You
his
sound like
tights.
you. Very helpful with the mic.
But we do get to see the first taste of Bully Maguire in this sequence, and that legend continuously
great this
grows
time.
even to this
Hell
day.
yeah.
May the bully bless and keep you.
That's a cute outfit. Did your husband give it to you?
Anyway, the fight progresses, and admittedly it could have been done a bit better. Peter starts using his webbing to stay out of Bonesaw's reach, essentially breaking the match, but then for whatever reason, he just drops back down to the
wait,
ground.
yeah.
And
I
then
forgot he actually
Kai
uses
just
spider powers in the fucking ring.
Yeah, he does. He does the flips.
That adds an interesting wrinkle to the conversation we were having yesterday.
You mean last week?
No, fuck me, you're right.
I'm doing it now.
I keep breaking the illusion.
Look, let us just
I've
refer
been
to
here
the
this
last
whole
stream
time.
as
Damn,
yesterday. It will just make
Spider-Man
everything-
homophobic. Yeah, that's a line that's very indicative of the times.
I don't know.
Oh, that's
I
the
feel
next
like he was just
Marvel
asking
movie.
a very, very simple question. Like,
The
I
It's
like
the next
your
Marvel
line.
movie. Spider-Man
the best
homophobic.
faith way I can interpret that line is that it's meant to mock someone who's very like manly and masculine, not necessarily make
So it's
fun of them
basically
for
what
being
we do
gay.
to Sherp, anyways.
What?
Basically what we do to Sherp, anyways. The alpha male persona, and he just says a whole bunch of random shit that just comes
Well,
off as
he's
very gay.
unironically attracted to femboys, so you know.
Oh, fair enough. Uvu's too loud. Uvu, you stinky lad.
Uvu said like 5 lines. How'd you even figure out he was loud?
Okay, 82%. That should be fine.
It's like
Okay.
the voice
Cute
of God.
wife.
Beast Spider-Man, I agree. Okay, so yeah, but as you were saying, the use of spiderwebs definitely makes this fight a whole lot more interesting through the lens that we were looking at it last week.
Mhm.
It's kind of the reason why I was so adamant on on the point that I
Yeah,
was
no, that
making.
makes sense to me now. I wish you had said that because I remembered the scene as him just like being acrobatic, but not necessarily very clearly
Oh,
giving
okay. Well,
himself
in that
away as
case, I can
Spider-Man.
definitely say I can definitely see why you were defending it as much as you were, because
Yep.
if he wasn't using like his spider powers, then yeah, it would just be a dude dressed up in a similar outfit. It could have just been coincidental. But no, the fact
Yeah,
that
yeah,
he's actually
exactly.
using his spider powers, he's doing the flips, he's using the webbing, he beats this man within an inch of his life. Yeah, no, this is a very no-no situation for him. It's actually worse if you watch something like the 90s Spider-Man TV show, because there he doesn't even use a different outfit. It's just the Spider-Man outfit, the standard one that he uses throughout the rest of the series. I saw a clip of it like 2 or 3 days ago. I was like, how the fuck does this work? He's gonna be caught out like fucking immediately because he doesn't even change anything about the outfit. But I have more of a loving understanding with that show because it's far campier than the Raimi movies, in my opinion. So I don't really care about semantics that
I haven't
much.
seen the show. Can't
Oh, we
really
should watch
compare
it some point.
tones.
It's fucking
But
great.
it is a bit of just a superhero trope in general, where you're like, how the
Yeah.
fuck do people not realize that this person
Well,
is
I
clearly
mean,
this person?
these comics were made, and I don't mean like continuously done. I meant like when they were actually made. During a time period where superheroes were not that serious. You know, they had serious stories and serious elements about them, but overall they were just campy, goofy fun, meant to entertain people. Look at the earliest Batman comics, the earliest Spider-Man comics. You know, Superman just going around picking up cars, helping people. It was a good time. This was also back when Superman could sneeze planets away with, yeah, no difficulty. So people
It's
weren't
almost
really
like a
taking that
mechanic of
stuff
the
seriously.
universe you just have to accept.
Yeah,
Like in Superman, in order the premise is basically, yeah, a guy wearing glasses can completely disguise himself and you just kind of have to roll with it. It's interesting how that works.
I just need to move.
But there is, like I mentioned before, there is some psychology that makes it a little bit believable, and that's the idea if you're not actively looking for something, you'd be amazed how much you just don't notice. I think it was
If
either a
it
study or there's a video where it manages to essentially put something right in front of the viewer's face, but because they were instructed to look at something else beforehand, pretty much no one realized that even happened.
I think there's
So it's
a
very
modern
interesting how selective our brains can be in terms of how they process information.
I think there's a modern day equivalent of that, and it's actually in Spider-Man Far From Home. During the scene where Peter and the rest of the school kids are like touring Paris, you can actually see Mysterio standing behind Peter Parker several times along with the rest of his crew. Most people
Hmm.
don't notice that the first time, the second time, or the third time they watch it because the emphasis is on Peter Parker. But if you
Yeah.
are vigilant and you're actually like looking around at the scenery, you can see Mysterio standing behind him just wearing like a
Yeah,
basic baseball cap.
it's basically a magic trick. It's classic misdirection, sleight of hand stuff.
No, I like that kind of thing, especially with the whole gimmick of Mysterio just being like a sleight of hand character. I thought that was really cool detail. It doesn't save the
Hmm.
movie; it's still a giant piece of shit, but
Yeah,
I
you can
thought that
still
was pretty cool.
appreciate the little things.
Yeah, but yeah, no, I absolutely agree. But
Oh yeah, Giovanna brings up a good real life example. Charlie Chaplin entering a lookalike competition. He didn't even come fifth.
that's real.
I'm
That
not sure. I have heard that story before. It would be funny if it's real.
that would actually be pretty cool. Imagine losing to yourself. That would be great.
Either way, the kind of I think it's the same concept where it's like you would never expect the actual person to be in the lookalike competition, so you just don't register it. Also, there's this really weird phenomenon when it comes to people doing impressions, both visually and via their voice, where they have a very like warped version of what the person actually sounds like, and so they'll think an impressionist sounds more accurate to the actual person.
Especially back then, I guess, because if you only heard Charlie Chaplin through the movies that he made, most of them being silent films, then you wouldn't really know what he sounded like.
I didn't mean in the case of Charlie Chaplin, but yeah.
Oh, yeah, true. But yeah, I don't have much else to say about this, so should we just continue?
Yep.
Okay.
Always get a laugh when SpiderSense.exe stops working.
That is
So-
pretty funny. It's not a
That
plot
cut
hole at
was
all.
funny.
This scene is fun. I like it. Randy Savage being the one normal person to actually hurt Spider-Man has always been a giggle for me because Spider-Man tanks grenades and walls being thrown on him in this movie. So the fact that a normal dude with a chair can beat him up is pretty funny.
This is how I rationalize it. I think at this point Peter's still learning to use his powers, so they're not very reliable. Like they're almost instinctual at this point. So I can buy it not working all the time,
the
particularly his
thing
spider sense.
the thing with why I don't think that works with Spider Sense is that it's supposed to be an instinctual reaction, like a sixth sense. It's not supposed to be something you actively turn on. It's just supposed to be there.
Yeah, but even senses you have to hone, right? Like imagine never having used your eyes up until this point. It would take a while for your eyes to adjust, right?
Yeah, absolutely. But the thing is with this sense is that you can't really hone it unless you're actively like in a dangerous situation. So I don't understand how this is supposed to work
But
or how he's
that's true
supposed to hone
actually, and
it.
he does end up in more and more dangerous situations, and then it starts to activate more frequently too.
But the thing is, the first time he uses it is not really that dangerous of a situation. He's going to get smacked in the back of the head, but I doubt it's going to hurt nearly as much as a chair being swung by Randy Savage.
The first
So
time he uses it, he's not in any active danger. Yeah, that's a good point.
the third time he
It
uses
almost
it
seems
is
like
the
he activated it on purpose in that situation, or
the
maybe
th-
it's just happening like sporadically. I don't know. It's kind of
the
hard to get a
sporadic
read on it.
argument is probably better because that's the purpose of spider sense is that it's just supposed to work when he senses danger. He doesn't know that
Hmm.
danger's coming. That's why the spider sense exists. The third time he has the spider sense activate, or second, I don't really know what the order here is. It's actually when the Green Goblin appears during the World Unity Festival. Now, the thing that's interesting about that scene is he's not in active danger. Green Goblin is nowhere in sight, and the thing that he attacks is not even Peter himself, yet he can still sense the danger as if it's directed towards him, which, even to this day, I still don't understand.
Yeah, spider sense is pretty poorly defined. It's kind of like force abilities, like force awareness,
It's
where it
kind of
just
funny
seems to
because
only activate when it's convenient or inconvenient.
even in um, even my own comments section, when my Birdman video came out, I had people saying that the Raimi trilogy was the best example or best usage of Spider Sense, which is not true, but even if it were true, that's still not a glowing endorsement because the Spider Sense in
I
this
don't
movie
have
is
very
kind
many
of
samples.
very many samples. Um, if I had to say which one's the most consistent, it would either be the Amazing Spider-Man or even just the MCU. I think the MCU has some pretty decent usages of Spider Sense. Far From Home explains the reason why Spider Sense doesn't work is due to a mental block that he faces, much like Peter does in Spider-Man 2. So that I can understand. But the Raimi trilogy has some pretty bad uses of Spider Sense, even when his spider powers are supposed to
I
be
think
fully
Spider
working.
Sense is a mixed bag in the Raimi trilogy because I associate it with a lot of very iconic moments, like him dodging the goblins' hovercraft, but then it is also loosely defined. So yeah, yeah, there's pros and cons to the way Spider Sense is handled in the Raimi verse.
Yeah,
I
but I
don't think
find
it's
it
used for too much bullshit, at least in the first movie.
um no, in the first movie, I think the only time he needed to use it and he doesn't would actually just be Randy Savage smacking him with the chair because
Yeah, that's very like minor.
When Green Goblin shoots him with the gas, I don't see why his spider sense would need to react because firstly the gas isn't lethal, and secondly he doesn't really like have harmful intent in that
I'd
situation.
love
He's
to
trying
know
to.
how spider sense in real life is actually supposed to work, because like
I wouldn't
I'm
because that would mean I have to study spiders more than I already have, and I kind of don't want to. But yeah,
it's not necessary. I'm just curious where this whole like extra perceptory idea came from.
but those are the only two examples of Peter being in danger or taking a hit and his spider sense not working that I'd be like, yeah, no, I can understand why they don't work, or I can excuse it. It would be the Randy Savage chair because it doesn't change anything about the fight. He'd still win even if he does sense the
Hmm.
attack coming, so it changes nothing.
And I think
Um,
the idea of the scene is to show that even though Spider-Man has these amazing abilities, he's still very much a rookie when it comes to using them. And so a regular strong guy can still actually pose a threat. So it's not just a complete like one-sided beatdown in this scene, which I don't think would be as interesting.
Yeah, no, the inexperienced argument is fine here. I just find
Especially because he's wearing this jank fucking Spider-Man proto outfit.
the only thing I find weird about this fight is just the fact that Randy Sandwich can actually
Randy
damage him
Sandwich.
that badly.
Oh yeah, sandwiches.
And the
Should
reason
have a dual
why
sandwich.
is because Spider-Man takes a lot of damage from Green Goblin later on in the film, and I mean, punches from a dude who goes through brick walls for fun doesn't put him on his ass quite like a chair does, which is always great. I point this out in my video all the time because I find it very funny, but yeah, it's not too
Yeah,
bad.
all these things are very much flexible depending on the kind of scene they're going for, which is definitely worthy of critique, but I don't think it actively works against the scene while you're watching it.
Yeah, because if the spider sense did work, then he just dodges the chair, kicks Randy Savage's ass a little sooner than he did already. Instead of beating him in 2 minutes, he beats him in a minute 30. I mean, it doesn't change the outcome. He still doesn't get paid what he's owed. The robber still steals the money. Uncle Ben still dies. So it literally has no effect on the plot. So it's not that big of a deal.
Mm-hmm.
But besides that, oh, that's something I just wanted to mention. Anomaly is aware that this is an inconsistency, but he doesn't complain that it's an inconsistency. He's just
Yeah,
like,
he's just kind of
I
laughing
like
it
how
off,
it's
isn't
how it doesn't work. It's so funny, and it's like, okay, if this was a movie you didn't like,
yeah,
then you wouldn't be this charitable.
no, absolutely not.
So, very interesting thought pattern there, Anomaly. Hopefully you keep it up.
After Bonesaw goes to town on him with a chair, this demented, roided up psychopath decides he wants to reenact The Last of Us Part 2, but then Peter kicks him a couple times and reverse flips him into the
Why,
cage
'cause he
wall as
has a
hard as he
crowbar?
can, knocking out
Good one,
Bonesaw
Anomaly.
and winning the match, and presumably the money as well. Before I go on, yet another thing I need to address. The use of Peter's webbing
Address?
having zero care factor on the crowd isn't really an issue. For those of you who seem to have a problem with this, you
coming.
clearly aren't very well acquainted with pro wrestling.
What?
I think I know where he's going with this. Hit play. This is gonna be great.
Okay.
Can you show me a real life example of someone doing this? Because if you can, it would be funny. I want to see it.
Yeah, I want to see how elaborate pro wrestling can actually get. But also, didn't he previously make the argument that this is actually not fake wrestling? It's real.
Yeah, that is
Because
something
there was
he
someone
said
who
last
had like
week.
broken
No,
legs
wait.
as he was
This
being
is something
wheeled
he
out.
said yesterday when we covered him. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course. No, he in the
Fuck
last
me,
video,
Of course, he's contradicting himself.
on the last stream, he said that this isn't supposed to be pro wrestling. It's actually real in universe because Randy Savage is actually breaking people's legs and hitting them with crowbars and chairs, so it's not staged. That was his first argument. Now he's changing it to, well, clearly you people don't know anything about pro wrestling, and it's like,
so fuck off. Just seriously, get one thing straight. Oh my god.
nah.
Anyway, let's go. I'm excited for this. I can't wait to see how he bends over backwards to justify this.
Are you? Okay, firstly, no one who was in the crowd sees his face or knows his name except for the officials in charge of the venue and one security guard, and that's assuming.
So even the officials of the
Wait, why would
venue,
the one security guard know?
I don't see why he would. He'd probably just go and ask the officials what his name is and then go from there. I don't think he needs to remember the names of fucking everyone who comes in here, which is a weird thing to do. Maybe he's arguing that he sees Peter's face.
He is. That's what he said.
Okay, then yeah, that would probably be it. But yeah,
Oh,
just
okay.
just the officials alone would be enough to give Peter crap later on, especially if they had that fight on record, or as in like they were watching it, and they had that fight recorded, and then they could just watch it on tape. Which I mean, maybe they do, maybe they don't. Who knows? But this would still be enough to cause Peter problems. So you can't just ignore this element and be like, oh well, this is fine because pro wrestling is stupid. If you're trying to
This
argue
is-
that this is,
I
a
think he's gonna
well-written
say
film,
pro wrestling can be like really elaborately staged, but yeah, the argument immediately falls apart when you just spent like 3 minutes talking about how this isn't fake wrestling and this is actually real.
yeah, this is already a nothing burger of an argument because you're just contradicting what you said 3
stupid.
minutes ago, except a week ago for us. So
assuming they even saw him do it. But I'll get back to them. As for the crowd, this is pro wrestling.
Is
Pro
it?
wrestling adopted a whole 80s boom of gimmicks by copying comic books. And theatrics and gimmicks are like
Wait.
70.
Copying the in-universe Spider-Man comic book? What the fuck are you talking about?
I don't think I think he's just meaning like real life pro wrestling copied the comic books, and that's what they're trying to mimic in the Raimi
Yeah,
universe.
but the implication is that, oh, clearly this is based off a comic book in universe. I was like, what is there a Spider-Man comic in
well,
universe?
no, that's not a charitable thing to say. Toby does have comic books in this universe. He talks to Aunt May about it in Spider-Man 2.
I know there's comic books in the universe, but the only way this argument works is if you try and say, oh, they're inspired by superheroes, so they try and copy their gimmicks. Like this superhero that exists in universe that can shoot webs. That's the only way this argument makes sense.
I mean, it doesn't make sense in any category, but I'm just trying to be charitable here. Yeah.
75 to
There's only
80%
so
of what
much,
pro wrestling is
charity one can
anyway.
give.
Are you kidding
Yep.
me? A guy
So
called
imagine if
Spider-
imagine if you're like watching The Undertaker, right, on TV,
Mhm.
and then suddenly this like Undertaker superhero starts like shoveling people. And you're like, wait, what's going on here?
Yeah, he
It's
just
like,
actually
wait.
murders someone in the
Oh.
ring, and then he just like buries them in the ring, and everyone's like, "Wow, that's a really great stage. I wonder if we're gonna see this person like resurrect next week." And then the next day, they're like, "This pro wrestler who was fighting the Undertaker is actually fucking dead," and like, "Oh." So
What an
I
elaborate
witnessed it.
ruse.
I witnessed this in real life. I saw the Undertaker actually kill someone with a shovel. Hmm. Now, in reality, that person would probably end up in court, not celebrated for going along with the act.
That situation is interesting though, because I guess it's because it's more about murder, but I can easily see people chalking that up to, oh, there's someone trying to imitate the Undertaker that's like a fucking psycho, as opposed to it actually being the Undertaker, because you still need a motive, right?
Not necessarily. I remember watching an old Mad Lad from Count Dankula where he was talking about a pro wrestler who was just fucking psychotic. He ended up bringing like broken pieces of glass and knives and shit and started shanking people in the middle of the cage.
Holy shit.
Yeah, no, he's weird.
Well,
I
yeah,
can't
it's a little
remember his
different if it
name.
happens in the cage. Yeah, fuck.
I can't remember what his name was, but that was his entire gimmick, to just be as violent as possible.
The
I
Throng.
clearly know nothing about pro wrestling. Wouldn't there just be web all over the cage? They'd be like, what the fuck is this shit?
Yeah. Someone would
Probably-
have to clean it up.
Maybe it's a Halloween special and they just like, oh, he's just decorating for us. It's fine. Just leave it there.
Actually, that'd be a cool little plot device. I'm sure probably some animated story has done this.
The Batman did it.
Where Spider-Man like leaves behind webs, and then like some tech company gets a hold of it and tries to like reverse engineer it.
Reverse engineer it.
Yeah, because it is quite an amazing material. It'd be interesting to see how that could be used in a more practical sense, other than swinging from building to building.
Well, I mean,
They'd
the
probably put him in like a tank and have him produce it infinitely.
the Amazing Spider-Man,
the
the Amazing
Do
Spider-Man
not milk
does.
the Peter Parker, please.
No, that's gross. But the Amazing Spider-Man is probably like the only example of companies doing that, but it's the opposite direction, where they already had the web developed, and then Peter kind of like uses it for his own designated purposes. Because in universe, they use the web for bridge building. They use it to pull heavy packages. They do a whole bunch of stuff, and they just market it off as just a resource that you can buy. Even Peter's able to afford a box of it, so it's clearly not that expensive. But yeah, no. A company picking up Peter's webs would be cool. I wonder if there's actually been a comic book that does that. Surely there must have been something
Seems like a
with the
no-brainer, yeah.
Spider Slayer, at least. I think.
Although
that
the
would have been
problem
the
is,
clear example.
in the comic books, it's mostly already a substance that is artificially made, as opposed to naturally generated.
Yeah, and the thing is with his webbing is that it's supposed to dissolve after 2 hours.
Makes sense.
Yeah, so I think that's how he covers his
Convenient,
tracks.
but yeah, fair enough.
Yeah.
Wait, what?
Peter's webs tend to dissolve after about 2 hours in comic books, and he also says that in Spider-Man: Homecoming.
I was gonna say I've only ever seen evidence for that in Homecoming, but yeah.
I mean, I've read like
His
one or two
webs
comic books.
actively
I've played the
despawn after
games.
a
I've
certain
watched
amount
the
of
TV
time.
shows. His webs dissolving is a pretty consistent thing along.
Have you
across
seen the
adaptations.
animated TV show with the really weird voice acting on symbiote Spider-Man, who's like, "I'll get you,
Yeah,
shocker."
that's the '90s TV show, and that part kills every time. I remember watching that part as a kid. I was like, "Oh damn, he's gonna murder him. He's gonna get him. He's gonna shoot him."
I watch it now and I'm like, "What the fuck is this delivery?"
It's so over the top, but it's great.
Really, it's great. It's very funny.
But yeah, Undertaker's been staring at me for too long, so I want to move on.
Yeah, true. What a frame. What a frame. Fuck me. I'm scared. He's got like a neck beard. Get him off my screen.
Oh damn it!
Spider-Man
When
shooting
Reddit
a
goes
sticky
down.
white rope from his hand and using it as a grappling hook is actually incredibly tame compared to this.
Anomaly, you fucking retarded?
rest
That is
my
clearly
case.
composited,
Anyway,
you
Peter goes to
dumbass.
collect his
You
reward,
think the
but because he
people in the
actually-
audience are seeing a fucking holographic like projection of visual effects over what he's doing? What?
um,
They're there in the audience. They're not watching on a
What the
TV. Really? Does he actually think that happened in real life? Oh my god.
no, but you see, Peter shooting webs out of his hand is very tame in comparison. So, suck it.
People know what pyrotechnics are. It's a little different to shoot web and then
Not
sling
just that,
yourself
most
with
people
said
who
web.
go and see pro wrestling know that it's fake.
Yeah,
They
we've
don't
already
go there-
established this isn't pro wrestling.
Yeah, they don't go there to experience realism. They just go there to see one man throw another person into a fucking desk. That's it. They just want goofy fun. That's probably why
Oh yeah,
pro
Kangaroo Monkey brought up a good point. Even if that was real WWE, there's clearly a bigger budget in that situation than this place. Yeah.
True, yeah.
He probably thinks the rock is made out of a rock.
I mean, I mean that's what we were saying every time. When we watched Black Adam as a group, me and Uvu said to each other, "I wonder when the Rock is going to come back." And Kami, who was watching it with us, thought we were talking about the very rare invincible mineral. It's like, why do you guys care about the Rock so much? And then we're like, well, the movie got him as like the main character, and
boy.
he's like, what do you mean? It's a rock. Why would it be a character? And then we're like, Kami, you fucking dumbass. We're talking about the Black Adam
You
character. And it's like,
dense motherfucker.
oh, he's a special one. But yeah, this is
It
an
can be
odd
endearing
argument.
sometimes.
He was endearing in that moment, but mostly because
He beats his opponent minutes
yeah.
instead of 3. The scumbag in charge of the promotion weasels out of paying him on a technicality. Peter tries to reason
Wait,
with
is that
him,
genuinely
but
all
the
he's gonna
internet
say about
gives
that?
him a little taste of the real world.
I missed the part where that's my problem.
If I didn't know any better, I'd say he was very seriously considering doing to him what he did to Flash. I mean, he knows he can, but he decides not to, likely knowing it would just get him into
I
more
don't think
trouble.
Peter
Instead,
would
he just
just
walks
beat
away
someone
looking
up out of
defeated.
nowhere.
But hey, what goes
Yeah, that's
around
kind of
comes around.
the weirdest thing to say after Uncle Ben literally just told him that he shouldn't just beat people up.
Not just
And
that, but
then-
the Flash
Like
thing was out of
it
self-defense.
was already incredibly significant for Peter to talk back. Like,
Yeah.
we don't go from that to I'm gonna beat you half to death because you made fun of me.
It's not just that. The Flash fight was out of self-defense. He even told Flash
Yes.
several times in the fight, "I don't want to fight you, Flash."
Yep.
So this is not the same thing. Peter would not pick a fight with this person. He would only
Yeah, I
do
don't
it
know
if
why
he
it
got
just-
money out of it, and I don't mean that in like the sense that he would steal it, but like he got paid to do it. Which is why he fights Randy Savage, because he was going to get money out of it. He wasn't just going to beat up a person for no reason.
I like Henry's review of Black Adam. Great action, terrible action. Perfect plot, nothing made too much sense, but who cares?
Yep.
Yep, yep.
Fair enough.
That genuinely seems like the sentiment of this Anomaly video too.
Wrestling is staged, and yet there seems to be a lot of improv in this cage fight. They even name him Spider-Man off the bat, WWE script. I mean, yeah, the Undertaker's a reoccurring character. Like, people understand his gimmick because he's been doing it for like 20 years. Spider-Man's a nobody who just showed up this night. Why would
And beat
anyone be
the-
like,
reigning
I
champ.
definitely know that he's going to be shooting webs out of his hand because I saw him last week.
He's called Spider-Man.
Get me pictures of Spider-Man.
It sounds like no, that's an insult to High Top because he'd be gargling Raimi's nutsack significantly more than Anomaly is right now.
Best adult dating site.
Oh no, the bots have arrived.
Best adult dating site.
Sex69.fun.
Best adult dating site.
What did Anomaly think Spider-Man was Homelander?
Best adult dating site.
Give me a quick second, lads. I just need to sort the shit out.
You're just gonna go to the website, aren't you?
I'm just gonna
mean-
sort myself. I mean, this stuff out.
Just gonna sort myself out.
I hope that's the name of the website. Sex-69.fun.
Stop giving them an advertisement.
I don't think that's the name of the website.
I
Dear
100%
Lord.
bet that's the name of the website. In fact, I'm gonna figure that out right now.
Enjoy your virus. Enjoy your computer STD. I want adult dating.
No, please. Henry, shut the fuck up. You gotta bring it back. Dumbass. Okay, it's gone now, so it should be fine.
A dating site for adults by adults.
I hope so.
Wait, Uvu, wait, hold up. Whoa. Is it gone or is it still there?
It's gone.
You sure?
Yeah.
Just double check. Okay, yeah, because I did remove it on my side, so it should be fucked off.
Yeah, it's gone.
A live stream about media with 12 viewers is a bold place to advertise. Yeah, I imagine they go with a scattershot approach.
They go wherever they can find fresh meat.
Although that is a good place for lonely virgins. So
Holy shit! You know what?
Just
Fair
nuked
enough.
the whole stream.
Just fair enough. If I get left with like one viewer because of what you just said, I'm beating you senseless. I'm beating you to death.
They know what they are.
True. Anyways, let's continue.
Hey, what the hell?
Put the money in the bag.
Now, this sequence is almost
It's
100%
Spider-Man.
lifted from the Spider-Man animated series. An armed robber fleeing with a large sum
I
of money
swear
from the
to
pro wrestling
God, if he
official
uses that
runs
fucking
straight
trailer
past Peter,
footage
who refuses
8
to
more
be seen,
times.
instead opting to let the criminal go. Of course, in the film, it's completely understandable why Peter would do something like this. After all, why would he help the man who just completely wronged him? It was revenge, and it felt good, as did this awesome line.
I mean, do we need to answer that, or can we just be like, yeah, we understand why Peter did this?
Yeah, that's what happened in the movie again.
Nothing
Thank you.
disagreeable with what was said.
Yeah. Okay.
You could have taken that guy apart. Now he's gonna get away with my money.
I missed the part where that's my problem.
A little bit of instant karma there,
MJ.
but karma doesn't distinguish. Two wrongs don't make a right, and Peter is about to pay the price for it. Before we go on to the next important part, I got to address another really dumb argument I've heard. And if you're standing, I suggest you sit down
A sweet
and
more
brace
straw man. Let's
yourselves
go.
for this.
Yeah, people are definitely going to be standing up listening to your podcast.
It'll be
your
even
video.
funnier if this is actually like a good argument made that he just completely
Well,
fails
I
to
mean-
address.
I mean, he's kind of been framing every argument against this movie as, oh, these people are kind of stupid, and you better sit down because I'm going to expose how stupid they are. Yeah. That's been every single.
And then the
argument he's
actual
made.
argument's actually quite reasonable, but he still does his best to like twist and reduce it to the easiest thing to defeat.
Yeah, I saw this a lot with Birdman, where he basically took reasonable statements made like by really level-headed people, just asking for clarity and framing it as, oh, this person's such a tryhard. They are so mad. They're so stupid.
Oh god, I could never be a YouTuber. I just want to fucking kill everyone that deliberately misinterprets what I say.
It's not fun, but it's fun.
You were nitpicking and biased. I win. Bye bye.
Thank you.
I
Donkey,
post
very
the
cool.
Yu-Gi-Oh footage.
You see, I have depicted you as the Yu-Gi-Oh doing a facepalm.
This makes your argument invalid.
This one because it is a doozy. Remember when I said the ones who saw Peter's face may or may not have seen him shoot the web in the arena because they were backstage? Well, that's not the issue here because What
about
I've
the audience?
actually heard from some people is because they saw Peter's face, when Spider-Man shows up later on, months later in fact, what would happen is the wrestling officials would make the connection and identify him via a police sketch artist, and this is the best part, because Peter helped the armed gunman escape with the money.
What?
I don't
Se-
think
it
I've
seems
ever
like-
heard anyone make that argument.
No,
I was
I
gonna say
haven't.
it seems like, yeah.
This seems like a nebulous argument that you just picked out of the fucking void
I
because
feel like
I don't
one
even remember
person
people
said this
saying
to him,
this.
and he was like, "What an idiot!"
I don't even remember this argument being brought up during the Twitter spat. Like, who said this to you? What?
I mean, I'm pretty sure we used it as some sort of connection to his identity, but we didn't do that.
I guess we can try and address the argument ourselves. I would say the major flaw with this argument is the idea that Peter would even be considered like a suspect for a crime.
Yeah. I think it's more like the ousting of his identity rather than whatever the fuck that was. Because like the guy had a gun and was running
Yeah.
towards him, and he's like,
I mean,
yeah.
it's just negligence.
Yeah,
but I mean,
Jesus
you could always
Christ!
just
Imagine if we could jail people for like
not helping.
being idle
Not
during a
killing
crime
themselves?
scene. Holy fuck!
What? You found
How
one bad
dare you
argument
not throw yourself in
mentioned
front
by
of this
someone
guy?
cool.
How dare you don't trip the man with a gun?
This seems like an argument he made to pad the video out. We could say it's an anomaly of an argument. No, officer, I haven't been drinking. Henry, we all know you've been drinking.
Damn.
We've all
Anyway,
been
see
drinking
how he deals
Anomaly's
with it.
Kool-Aid. Oh god. It's so obnoxious. It's so obnoxious.
What's so funny?
Just let that sink in for a second. Peter lets the armed gunman escape.
Yeah, exactly.
and
It's a
this
stupid
would lead
argument
to
you
the
shouldn't put any
wrestling
time
officials
into.
reporting and identifying him to the police.
No, but it makes them look
Months
cool and epic.
later, when Spider-Man shows up and Peter's facial features are a distant memory because getting out of the way of an armed gun.
Okay, get this. I saw this argument on Twitter, right? This guy was trying to say that the scene with Spider-Man going to the cage was not pro wrestling, and then when people said that why does he shoot spider webs, he then responded, actually, it is pro wrestling.
No, you need to emphasize the laughter. We need a fucking
Supposedly makes
Simpsons
you an
laughing track on top of that.
Wow.
Why even bring up this like complete outlier of an argument that no one ever made without any sources?
Where did you come up with that? You know, you really need some help, and a regular psychiatrist.
Let's not counter the argument at all. Let's just emphasize that it's stupid by playing fucking laugh tracks from 90 sitcoms. Great idea.
Yeah, the only thing he said is that, yeah.
Did he
gun
say
in
this
his
movie
arms,
took him
and
like
then just
3
didn't
months
even
to make or
connect
something?
it to anything.
A month.
A month? Okay,
Took 12 years to
a
make.
month to make this? Yeah, I can believe that. I can make that in a month, even with the amount of time I have now. This is not a hard video to make. It's fucking
Yeah, it's
awful.
because you just play trailer footage and then explain the movie.
Not just
You can
that,
make it in a
I
week.
don't even have to make arguments. I just have
Mm.
to play laugh tracks of everything. This would be the easiest video to make in the fucking world. It's not hard.
Just couldn't even help you. You need to go to like Vienna or something. That's the kind of help you need. Not the once a week for $80. No, you need a team. A team of psychiatrists
You know what I
working
love?
round the clock.
Reaction
That's what I'm
videos
talking
that
about.
go
Because that's the
on
only way
for
you're gonna get better.
Okay,
40
to the people
seconds.
propagating this really stupid argument, you want to know what
Who?
the actual problem with this scene is? It's the fact that the security guard and the wrestling officials get mad at Peter in the first place when he did nothing wrong.
It's not a flaw, you dildo!
Bro, the guy is
police
stealing
officer- no, no,
money
no, no,
from
no, no,
him.
no,
He
hold on,
did
hold on,
have
hold on,
the
stop,
ability
stop,
to
stop,
stop
stop,
him.
stop,
He
stop,
even
stop,
said
stop.
you could have taken that guy apart.
Not just that, they were yelling at Peepo. They were yelling at Peepo to fucking stop the guy in front of him,
Peepo
and
Polkler.
Peepo literally just steps aside and lets him fuck off.
Yeah, he actively makes himself not an inconvenience for the robber, which I
Yeah.
mean, fair, but also fair for them to be angry at that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's kind of a lose-lose situation, so
the guy who lambasts him even says you could have taken the guy apart, and he knows that Peter could have taken him apart because he just beat up Randy Savage in under 2 minutes. a dude who was.
said that.
It's like, this isn't a flaw, mate. How do you do this? How the fuck do you argue against nothing and then be like, oh, the actual
And
flaw
then
in the
lose.
scene is this? And it's like, okay, well, no, your flaw is incorrect because you were ignoring context in the scene and just wrong.
He's boxing with shadows, and the shadows won.
Spider-Man.
Shadows beat the shit out of him.
Sam Raimi's Spider-Man one is a masterpiece, demonetized again. Is a very good video, guys.
Even better. The shadows were just him the whole time, so he was actually beating himself up.
He is the straw.
What the hell's the matter with you? You let him go. You could have taken that guy apart.
Well,
Now
you're
he's
even
gonna
playing
get
the
away with
clip.
my money.
And this is an actual mild problem I have with the movie.
And
but
you're
it doesn't
fucking
impact the plot
stupid.
in any way, shape, or form, so it doesn't matter. Now, with that out of the
Doesn't
way,
matter.
let's move on to the next scene.
Huh?
Returning to the library, Peter
This
finds
is
a
an actual
conference
problem I
call
have with the
nowhere in
movie.
sight.
Anyway, let's move
But
on.
he does find a crowd
the
of
fuck?
But it doesn't
police
matter,
sirens
even though it's a
huddled
masterpiece.
together on the
Fuck
sidewalk.
you.
He goes to investigate it, and you can tell he's got a very ominous feeling about what he's about to find, but nothing
Yeah,
could
no
prepare
shit, it
him
looks
for the
like a
sight of
crime
his Uncle
scene.
Ben dying on the side.
He has a very he's got a very anomalous feeling about what he's going to find. He sees a group of people gathered around someone clearly lying on the floor, and his uncle is supposed to pick him up in this area. I wonder why he could be feeling kind of a little spooky, a little spooked. He's a little upsetty spaghetti. I wonder why.
Again, very obvious thing that the film very clearly conveys. I do like Tobey Maguire's acting in the scene as well. Yeah,
I don't. He
it
cries
seems
a
like
lot.
he already knows what's happening before he actually sees it, and then when it's confirmed,
His spider sense just kicked in, and they're like, "Boy, you in trouble." And he's like, "Oh, I know."
Oh, not
God,
this
he
shit
had like a
again.
360 photogrammetry zoom into like Uncle Ben's dead corpse with his spider sense. He's like, oh.
Oh,
You just
no.
get a fucking you get a VR headset zoom in on his nose, like that Saul Goodman fucking
yeah,
AI video.
Yeah, yes, exactly.
Oh no, I want to see that version of the movie. It'll be great.
Oh my god.
You
It's
unintentionally
fucking
make the Uncle Ben scene
twisted.
comedic. It would be so funny.
I think Muller spends less time recapping the plot in his videos. Yeah, he does. And he usually does it with like flavor too, so it's not just the most dry fucking
I
recounting
mean, his
of what
Infinity
happened.
War video is 58 minutes long, and it's capping or recapping a 2-hour and 30-minute movie. So, yeah, he's a lot more concise. And even when he is recapping, he's not just doing it for the sake of being like, oh, guys, this is the movie, by the way. He's recapping and then explaining why the recap is necessary, because he's explaining the problems in every scene going forward. The recap is necessary for you to get the appropriate amount of context so that he can explain the problems. He does a really good job of that in his TFA videos. So, yeah, that's a good comparison to make, but Anomaly is no Mauler.
Wicker Man says people make
An odd argument.
Jesus Christ. People make fun of Toby crying, but like his uncle died. Can a grown man not cry?
No.
I think where this comes from, and I'm not saying it's right, but I think where this idea of like, wow, Toby's such a crybaby, I think it is legitimately in the face he makes when he cries. But I think people are so used to like Hollywood crying where it's like
Perfect
the person
hair,
still looks like
perfect mascara.
attractive and
Their
it's very
makeup
like
isn't
subtle,
fucked
just
up.
like a tear, like maybe a bit of a quivering lip. But when someone full on ugly cries, they're like, ugh. But it's like, no, that's fuck, bro. That's what it's like. I like it being more raw, but I can also understand being off put by it. But I think that just adds.
No, you
to
don't
the
understand. It's been
emotional
6
whirlwind of
months
it.
since Toby's brother died. He is not legally allowed to be upset anymore. He needs to get over it.
Fucking remind me of the critical.
I was gonna bring up Midsummer because it's an actual, like, the similar thing happening. Also, I think that since this scene has been in pop culture for so long, people forget the kind of gravitas it has. And they just look at him and go, ha
But the
ha,
thing
look at
is
this
that
idiot.
all you need to do to
It
get
also
that
became a
sense
meme.
of...
It became a meme. What is the movie supposed to do when a scene becomes a meme?
Well, I mean, even if it is a meme, when we watched it together last week, I don't think any of us were laughing at the scene. We were
No,
also
it makes
pretty
me
like...
sad as fuck every time.
Yeah, because the scene is
Music
well made.
especially.
This is like one of the only scenes in the movie that I didn't give crap to because I thought that it was just done so fucking well. It is
Yeah,
a
it's
very
really
potent
good
scene.
goodbye to Uncle Ben, and the fact he doesn't even get any last words, he just sees
He
that
just
it's
says
Peter,
Peter
and then dies.
yeah. Which in its own way is very impactful because the last thing that's on his mind is his nephew and making sure that he's okay. It's
Yeah.
like,
Yeah,
bro,
that's
it hits
sweet.
hard.
He's just such a likable guy. Even though we don't see that much of him, he makes such a strong impact on you.
Yeah. Well, let's see how Anomaly fucks the scene up.
Sidewalk from a gunshot wound. The police officer tells him that he was apparently shot by a carjacker. Now, this is actually a slight change from the comics where Uncle Ben was actually shot in a burglary attempt on his house, but it serves the same story purpose just as well. Now, apparently, and fun fact for those of you who didn't know this, but it was actually Cliff Robertson's idea for Uncle Ben to still be alive, if just barely, to have one last moment with Peter.
Ah, fuck me!
Is this the return of the fucking fire alarm?
The Anomaly alarm has
Scared
gone
the
off.
shit out of me. What the fuck? Why did it only go on for like a second and then turn off?
Didn't this also happen when we were covering an Anomaly video?
Yeah, probably. We've mostly covered Anomaly videos,
The
so it's
Anomaly alarm.
statistically likely.
Yeah. I just find it
Well, I
odd that
think
it happened again.
I think it's gone. The fuck? They usually announce if they're gonna do a drill, not just play the fucking thing.
Maybe you just
Usually
didn't get
announce
the
if there's gonna be
memo,
an unannounced
boy.
fire.
Anyways.
Whatever.
Was to just have Peter find him dead on the sidewalk. But thankfully, we got to experience this very
No, Henry, that
beautiful
was not a
and
part of the
tragic
video.
moment
That was a
between
part of
these
my
two
life.
characters.
I remember it was written originally that Cliff was already expired when Toby's character came up to him. But I think it was his idea. Say, why don't we just have me alive to make contact with Peter one last time? It's a great idea.
Uncle Ben trying to give Peter some dying words. And what makes this so tragic is that, at least as it appeared to me, Uncle Ben felt so bad for how the conversation between him and Peter ended back in the car. It sounded like, by the tone of his voice, that he was trying to apologize to his nephew.
Hugo, I can hear you typing.
I don't necessarily disagree with this. His last words to Peter in turn could mean a few things. It could also just be that he's in physical pain and just wants to stay alive. It could be a multitude of things, so none of it's wrong, none of it's necessarily the correct opinion, but I have nothing to say about this, so it's fine.
But as we all know, this sweet old man had nothing to apologize for, and Peter knows that too. But regardless, before he can utter the words, this good, innocent man, the only father Peter had growing up, dies right before his eyes. And Cliff Robertson and Tobey Maguire absolutely nailed this scene. Cliches notwithstanding, this felt about as real as it could get, at least from a movie standpoint. And I love how Peter's face starts off showing heartbreak and sadness,
fuck does that
but
mean?
slowly and surely turns to murderous rage as he overhears the police chatter as they found the whereabouts of the carjacker who just killed his uncle. And so Peter goes on a manhunt to take revenge. And it's here we now...
He bombs a building.
How the fuck do you just destroy the tone of your own video by just playing trailer footage of a scene like this? What is wrong with you?
Oh god.
You can even hear it in his voice. He's trying to sound somber and sincere, and then he fucks it up
You
with
got
this fucking trailer
Green
footage.
Goblin zooming all over
Oh
the place,
my
fucking
lord.
crashing into the window.
But guys, remember, Anomaly is greater than us, so we're just wrong.
Can't argue with that.
Nope.
Finally get to the Spider-Man out for revenge sequence, where Peter Parker sets out with nothing but his raw emotion and a desire to kill his uncle's murderer. And you can tell by the way he moves, the aggression and the sheer strength in it, as well as Tobey Maguire's angry grunting, that he is out for blood. Now this is mainly a computer-generated sequence,
Angry grunting.
as many of you are no doubt well aware, but the animators gave a lot of character to the sequence, and Tobey Maguire, just with his voice, acted the shit out of this. Anyway, Spider-Man is wall crawling and jumping over the
Oh,
helicopter.
God.
It's all
Examples of
going to
that.
plan until he comes to a point where
He's just
Peter
like, oh
needs to
shit, I
learn
love
another
this scene.
Spider swing. I just love the look
Acted
in
the
his eyes.
shit out of
part
it.
rage and part fear. as
Spider-Man's
Danny often saw,
grunting made me
slowly
hard.
sets the mood. And then Peter finally takes the leap of faith, and we see Spider-Man swing through the buildings of New York for the first time.
The leap of faith? Really?
What?
It's an odd phrase, but I wouldn't really call this a leap of faith, more like a...
Well, isn't this the
glide.
first time he's swung from a building?
No. It's the second. The first time ended up with him flat on his face, so
Yeah,
He's
okay. It's not really a
unconscious.
leap of faith moment then. It would have been the previous scene.
Yeah, the first scene would have been a leap of faith. This is just him doing it again, but better.
I did notice a little bit of hesitation, so maybe. I don't know. Who cares?
I don't know. A leap of faith just implies that there's an element of fear going in, or not just hesitation. I feel like the leap of faith scene in Into the Spider-Verse does this really well because Miles is so fucking scared about jumping off that he even shatters the glass because he's trying to let go while he jumps off with his sticky powers. So that scene I would call leap of faith because he's never really used his spider abilities that well beforehand. This one kind of, but I don't know. It doesn't really scream leap of faith. I'm just arguing
let's move
semantics
on.
here, but
And
yeah,
it
this is just
glorious, but very intentionally lacks the grace and fluidity that Spider-Man eventually acquires when he becomes more acquainted with this superhero persona
that's a nice
that he
transition.
perfects
Well
later
done.
on. But for now,
Yeah.
he's swinging after the carjacker, vengeance in heart, and the way he swings and attacks.
I like
sells
the fucking
all of it.
janky PS1 swinging that goes on in that scene. It's great.
All of his pain, all
I
of
think
his
the animation
rage,
holds up
and it's
pretty
honestly
well,
an
actually.
excellent chase sequence. Eventually, Peter causes
Yeah,
the
I thought it
gunman
looked
to
pretty good.
crash into an abandoned dock, and then Peter takes his time stalking his prey, clinging to the shadows, until finally he seizes his chance and brutalizes him. Peter wails on him until eventually he has the gunman in a corner, and then Peter rips off his mask because he wants the killer to see the rage in his eyes before he gets what's coming to him. The gunman begs for his life, but Peter doesn't want to hear it. As Peter prepares to carry out his dark plans for his uncle's killer, a spotlight reveals the truth. The gunman who killed his uncle was the same criminal who robbed the wrestling venue, the one Peter let get away. He let it happen, and it all falls on him. This revelation shakes Peter to his very core. The shock, horror, regret, and
I just realized something that's funny about the comic book interpretation. Unlike the movie where it's a carjacking, Uncle Ben dies in an attempted robbery. So that one's a lot more contrived because the robber that was at the WrestleMania thing that he went to just decided, okay, you know what? I'm gonna go and fuck up this house specifically.
Oh yeah, what the fuck?
That's kind of weird.
Uvi, your mic is crackling.
Yeah. So that one's kind of funny. I'm glad
Iggy
that they
and
went with this
Ducks.
change instead because that's a lot less silly, but yeah, odd choice.
Shane
AI,
causes him to
Anomaly
almost
Inc. It was
completely
literally
drop
written
his
by an
guard.
AI.
This is where the robber turns the tables on him, pointing his pistol
Throws him off a
straight for
building.
Peter's head, clearly having no remorse for what he did to his uncle. Admittedly, this is somewhat later retconned in Spider-Man 3, but as far as this scene goes, at the time this movie was made, he is the murderer. And he's about to do it again without a care in the world. But Peter isn't about to make the same mistake twice. And if anything, this is just going to fuel his bloodlust.
Alright.
This is going to fuel his bloodlust.
I would have just phrased this sentence differently.
Doesn't he literally
besides
like
that,
become a superhero after this to, you know, keep Uncle Ben's name and legacy alive?
I don't know what he
rather than
means by
fueling his
I don't know who
bloodlust?
the subject is in this sentence. The robber's
Peter.
bloodlust?
No, Peter
Peter's.
is going to fuel his bloodlust by
Can we
crushing his wrist.
just roll back like 5 seconds? I need to
Yeah.
pass that.
Did to his uncle. Admittedly, this is somewhat later retconned in Spider-Man 3, but as far as this scene goes, at the time this movie was made, he is the murderer. And he's about to do it again without a care in the world. But Peter isn't about to make the same mistake twice. And if anything, this is just going to fuel his bloodlust. So at the very last
What?
second,
I think
Peter
he would be
uses his
scared 'cause
spider-like
there's a
reflexes
fucking
to
gun on his
disarm the
head.
gunman, damn near breaking his arm in the process. And Peter has every intention to kill him, but the now helpless killer backs off in fear before Peter can deliver the killing blow, trips on a pipe.
Does Peter look like he's about to beat this man senseless? In this scene
No, he
too?
looks confused.
He looks mostly angry to me and just stunned at who this is, but I never got the
Yeah.
impression that he was going to actually like kill him.
No, neither. It seems more like an accidental thing that
I
happened
mean, it
rather
absolutely
than.
is an accidental thing because if that pipe wasn't there, then he would probably just fall in on his ass and not through the window.
Anomaly sounds so disinterested in this. I feel like I'm listening to my old collage professors again.
College.
Oh, college.
No, he wrote. Lol.
I like the idea of there being a
Perhaps even
professor of
Lamau.
collage.
Yeah, no, I think he just got a different reading from the scene than we did. I never got the impression that Peter was going to kill the gunman after he found out who it was. Probably just hurt him like severely, but I think after crushing his wrist and making him so scared that he wants to fall down flat on his face or run away from him, I
Well,
think
he
Peter would
also
have just been
threw
like,
his head into glass, which could have killed him. So
yeah, but that was before he saw his face. I
yeah,
feel like
exactly.
I feel like the realization changed his mind a little bit, which is why he backed off slightly. But then obviously the gun was in
Maybe
his
even
face, and it's
more
like,
okay
fuck
with
you, fuck you, rubber
fucking this
man.
person up.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if I agree with the idea that Peter
I
wanted
think
to kill him
no,
after.
you're right. He would be experiencing a mix of emotions once he figured out who it was, because he's like, oh fuck, wait, I'm at fault here? Oh shit. This isn't just a simple case of this person's a cunt and I can destroy them. It's more like, I helped this person. Yeah.
Yeah. I honestly hope
I
he
genuinely
doesn't.
think that Peter's like an angry Homelander person. I don't know. He keeps reading him as so bloodthirsty. It's kind of weird. Maybe he's projecting.
Made more sense in Spider-Man 3 when he tries to stop Flint, but the symbiote makes him more aggressive. Yeah, I was about to bring up the Spider-Man 3
True.
argument because Anomaly has a habit of using movies that come out after this one to support his points for why this movie is a masterpiece, which doesn't really make too much sense to me because it's material that comes afterwards.
Which is
But
funny because
whatever.
he's actively ignoring those movies to make these ones better. He's done it
Yep.
throughout the entire video. It's like, oh, but this doesn't work in future movies, but don't worry about it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, he did that with the fucking pro wrestling thing almost 3 minutes after he said it. So, yeah, we are no stranger to the Anomaly Inc. Changing of opinion mid-sentence. It's pretty funny. But yeah, let's carry on.
And falls out the window, plummeting to his death. Peter takes a moment to absorb the situation. Though not a killer, he is the reason the gunman is dead, but before Peter can process this, the police close in and he has to flee. He retreats high atop New York's Chrysler building where he sheds all his tears for his uncle's loss, as well as the regret and shame he feels for his actions. And though he wanted the man who killed Uncle Ben dead, and ultimately got what he thought he wanted, it doesn't make him feel any better, and most, if not all of you no doubt know, Spider-Man doesn't kill, and this sequence is meant to show you precisely why. Peter, in his blind rage, thought he wanted to kill the man who killed his uncle.
Does the scene show you why he doesn't kill people? I thought that comes later. Or rather earlier. The reason why he doesn't kill people is because he has the power not to, and thus the responsibility not to. Well, no, I'm phrasing that incorrectly. He has the power to kill them, which means he has the responsibility not to kill them, if that makes sense, because his uncle's like, you shouldn't abuse your power just because you have it. That's something comes beforehand. It's not necessarily the scene. I mean, the scene enforces
Does
that,
he go over
but...
the whole plot? Yes, unfortunately he does. This is the way he structured this video, and it is
No,
painful.
GB, he doesn't go over the entire plot. He goes over the entire plot and then re-emphasizes the plot by playing the scene he's talking about directly after recapping what happened.
If you're lucky, otherwise it's just incredibly fast edited trailer footage that makes it feel like you're having an aneurysm.
Yep. And he plays it at the funniest of locations too, because reasons, I guess. We didn't even know it was trailer footage until Madvika pointed out that it was fucking using marketing
It's very
slogans.
obvious
Yeah,
now.
it is. I think it's just because we were trying to figure out what the hell was going on with
we just
all
thought
the...
he was we just thought he had a really strange editing style where he was cutting together footage super fast.
Yeah.
But it didn't change or help anything. His uncle is still gone, and there's nothing he can do to change the past. I'll come back to this in a few moments. But Peter returns home finally, ready to face his Aunt May. Now, I've always been unsure as to exactly what is being said in this scene and who is the one breaking the...
Why did his footage become so crusty all of a sudden?
Yeah, the video quality's been all over the place.
Bruh, get a fucking HD rip. What is wrong with you? It's on Disney Plus and Netflix. Just fucking watch the movie. And don't use the footage that you recorded on that site. Because that's illegal. Maybe. I don't know.
I know, I saw the movie.
I find it very hard to believe that Aunt May wasn't alerted of Uncle Ben's murder at this point in time. But what I'm getting at is it doesn't matter who says what or what is said. This tiny brief...
No, she obviously knows, which is why she's crying, you dipshit.
It doesn't matter who says what or what is said.
She obviously got fucking alerted by the police, and then she was wondering where Peter was, which is why she's staying up the entire night. And then when Peter comes home, they both understand what happened, and that's when they start crying together. How do you... You're fucking stupid.
Brief, small scene is so powerful because there's no audible dialogue. It's mostly entirely just a visual depiction of family members.
It's mostly entirely.
I'm pretty sure you can hear Aunt May crying in that scene. I'm pretty sure you can hear her crying in that scene, but whatever.
Yes, you can.
Dumbass.
Actually means there's no dialogue. Yeah,
Well, of course
I mean,
there's
it
no
is
dialogue because they
nice
they have a
and
mutual
minimalist.
understanding of what happened, and they're like, well, time to cry.
But you could definitely see a lesser movie having dialogue between his two
Uncle
characters.
Ben
in that
is
moment.
dead!
Oh my god, my husband's dead!
I am now
I
going to
know, and
audibly
I
cry.
killed him.
The video should be called Spider-Man 1 is a masterpiece. If you haven't seen it, let me explain to you why this is demonetized again.
Demonized again.
Well, yeah, that's probably how he views it. He got
It's a
demonized by
great
YouTube.
recap for people who are blind.
Blind,
I'd
deaf,
rather
and
watch the
dumb.
Braille edition, honestly.
The Daredevil edition of Spider-Man? Hell yeah.
I'd rather touch the Braille version.
Oh wait,
Loved
yeah,
one.
shit.
The only sound being that of Aunt May's crying, and much like Uncle Ben's death, it
Okay,
hits
well,
right in the
that probably explains why there's no audio, because she's crying, you...
Much like Uncle Ben's death shows video of fucking Toby Maguire pogging on a wall. What are you doing?
I don't know. I don't understand what this is.
He has the
because
reading
it
comprehension
feels
of a tablespoon.
So real. And I don't think there's anything.
So you know why they aren't talking, because she's... Oh, God, why would you say anything? You have the context, you even play it on screen, and you still try and point it as if it's supposed to mean something? Like,
This is the closest he's gotten to like any kind of analysis this whole video. Fuck me. How do you make a living of doing video essays and not be able to say a single substantial thing about even a film?
no,
you
he doesn't
love?
make a living because he gets
Fuck
demonetized
demonized.
again!
Or whatever.
I don't know.
More of a
Demonized!
saying.
What?
Making a living, I meant more of like a saying kind of way, not a literal
Living and
sense.
making.
Yeah. No, I
Wait,
get you,
did
I get
just
you.
say that?
I was just making a funny.
I don't know what I'm saying anymore.
Even in the slightest bit cliche about this, even by movie
What?
standards. Toby
Who the
and
fuck's saying
Rosemary,
this?
as well as Raimi's
Fuck do you mean
decision
by
to keep the
even by
scene
movie
without
standards?
dialogue
What other
lend-
standards would I judge it by?
TV show standards.
Anomaly
Comic book
standards?
No, actually, no.
Real life cliches?
A lot of people actually do judge these movies by comic book standards. If it's not accurate to the comics, then it's bad. A lot of people do that. So
Yeah, they're very insufferable.
yes, they suck.
And to what makes the scene feel so authentic and real, and slowly the scene simply fades out. Now, if
Oh
that's-
yeah, Ty Cobb. By the way, 2 people helped Anomaly in editing this. Yeah, so 3 people suck. 3 people suck at their jobs. Well done.
I get the feeling that the 2 people that helped did all the real work and Anomaly just put trailer footage in.
Yeah, I want that to be the case, where they are the actual ones who did all
Oh,
the editing for sound and audio balancing, and then actually putting in relevant clips. And then normally it's just like, I'm gonna
Audio
put trailer
balancing. I
footage
can
in.
barely hear Anomaly's fucking VO.
To be fair, it could definitely be worse. It definitely could be worse.
It could also be good.
True.
said, tone shift incoming. We go from a heart-wrenching scene between Peter and Aunt May to Green Goblin's maniacal laughter as he bombs the shit out of Oscorp's rival company, Quest Aerospace, along with General Slocum, Oscorp's biggest attractor.
You didn't
in
say his
one
name
fell
correctly.
swoop. Green Goblin annihilates all of Norman Osborn's enemies, as well as any and all threats to Oscorp, his company. This also gives the audience
He just bombs the entirety of the U.S. Army because they all a threat to him. Because
They're
now
all
they
a
have
threat to
they
me.
they have 3 fucking high-ranked generals
This
who just
whole
got bombed
world
in a
is a
domestic
threat to
terrorist
me.
attack. And then Goblin's like, oh no, more threats to my sovereignty, and then he just blows them up too.
In fact, I don't like the way the moon looks.
He
I'm
just
gonna blow
blows-
that up too.
He just grooves it. It's like, I'm going to steal the moon. It's great. I want to see that version of Green Goblin just stealing the moon.
He fucking would.
he's nuts enough. We should invite him onto the Nut House podcast, see what he says.
just a small taste of how destructive and dangerous the Green Goblin is, which is who Peter is eventually going to have to face, even though he's looked into the Green Goblin's eyes before, and is about to again, because it cuts to Peter's graduation from high school. Peter, in addition to his high school diploma, was given a
Green
special
Goblin
award.
punched God because God is a threat to him.
You think you're so high and mighty.
God damn it.
Science. Harry rushes to tell him that Norman pulled some strings and they got the apartment in the city that they wanted. But speak of the goblin.
Speak of the devil!
Norman Osborn interrupts to congratulate his son on finally graduating high school, and I've always liked this little exchange between the two.
Oh, that's great.
You made it. It's not the first time I've been proven wrong. Congratulations.
You really get the sense that Norman is proud of his son, despite the fact that he's reluctant to openly show his son affection, because, like I said, there's
he's treating it like he just got promoted at
On
his
the
work.
other hand, Norman's face practically lights up when he sees Peter and his science achievement. And as I mentioned before, Harry appears to take this somewhat personally. Again, that his father has more of a connection to Peter than he does. And so when he sees MJ and Flash break up, he swoops in like a vulture while Peter is talking to Norman to steal the girl he has a crush on. Again, kind of like he did when he stole Peter's line back at the Spider Labs. But as we all know, Harry has the wrong idea about Peter and his father's relationship because there's no intentional malice or spite behind it. And in this,
well, there doesn't have to be spite behind this. Well, there's definitely spite from Norman's case because he cannot fucking stand Harry at this point. Peter doesn't have to be spiteful towards Harry, but he could still appreciate, the attention that he's being given from someone who can recognize his achievements and even offers him solace that his fucking uncle just died. So, yeah, I don't understand why you would point that out because it's not something that needed to be pointed out. Harry can still just be a jealous little hoe.
I think the interesting analysis to bring here is that Norman Osborn treats Harry like an employee, but he treats Peter like a son.
Yeah. Which is emphasized
Which
at
is
the end of the
interesting
movie.
because Harry might have grown to think that that's just the way Norman expresses affection. But
Until
then he
he
sees
saw-
that,
yeah.
oh god, no, hang on. This is what it's supposed to look like. He really does just have this really detached, informal way of handling me. Fucking wonderful.
Yeah, I mean, we get examples of this all throughout the movie. You see it here at the graduation. You see it at the start of the movie when he says that Peter's impressive for what he's able to do. Even, mentioning that his parents must be proud of his accomplishments, which is not something Harry would likely ever hear from his own dad, because his dad is like, you flunked out of every high school I've ever sent you to, and now you want me to trade my car in for a Jetta because you're fucking embarrassed? And it's like, yeah.
And then when both of them aren't looking, he's like,
You know what? Saturn looks like a threat. I'm gonna blow up Saturn.
You should blow up Pluto. It's looking at him funny. It's too small.
It's not even a planet.
In this case, Norman, I'd say, was being a little extra compassionate to Peter due to the fact that not long ago, a few weeks at the very most, his uncle passed away.
Yeah, and Harry would know this because he would be sympathizing with Peter and help him mourn by this stage. So
is it a few weeks ago? Does the movie indicate that?
Undeterminate.
Yeah, I assume it's happened fairly recently because it's not like we see seasons changing. I assume this is like at least midway through the year. They graduate in like fucking June or July.
Because cutting to the graduation, made it feel like the movie was trying to tell me that like quite a lot of time had passed between the last moment.
I didn't get that too much. I got that a period of time had passed, but I didn't get that a lot of time, like months had passed. More like just a few weeks.
I mean, people would have forgotten Uncle Ben's face by now, so.
True, actually.
I just realized what I was referring to.
They
God
don't know what he
damn it.
looks like anymore. It's faded. That's why Peter's crying
It's
in the scene. He
fiction.
forgets what
We
his
made
uncle
him
looks
up.
like.
Back to form.
He's right
I
in
know
front of
this
him.
has been a difficult time for you, but I want you to try to enjoy this day. Commencement. The end of one thing, the start of something new.
Norman Osborn is actually a good man and does a good thing for Peter here. And it's actually Norman's good deeds and his willingness to try and help Peter out, which is part of why his character's arc is so tragic, because you're seeing a good man and a misunderstood father slowly turn evil due to a personality corruption driven by
no.
insanity. After the graduation concludes, Peter quietly heads off to his room, not wanting to celebrate or go out and party like
Someone
most
being
of the other
selectively
teenagers are
nice to
probably
someone doesn't
doing.
make them a good
Instead,
man.
he sits mournfully in his room, thinking about the last conversation he had with the only father he ever knew.
We just watch the prequels and see Palpatine like giving solace to Anakin in his time of need and like treating him like
I'm a good man.
like a person. Especially when Anakin goes back and starts crying his ass off, like, the Jedi mean, they never like me. And then
It's okay,
Palpatine's
Anakin.
like,
I don't think you're a Weasley little bitch.
yeah. See, it's so tragic because we
funny
understand
'cause he
that this
does.
good man, this good-natured antagonist is going to
Thank
end up
you,
becoming
Papa
the evil
Palpatine.
Emperor Palpatine that we see later on.
It's okay, my cheesecake.
Yeah, he's a flawed character, and we can see that from the start with him his angry outbursts and his, well, the fact that he fucking gasses himself. And
I'm
the
going
fact that
to
he's
shoot
always
lightning in my own face because it makes me feel funny.
Hey, I can't turn it off!
I fried my own circuit boards. It doesn't want to stop. Anakin, help!
it's like when you start peeing really, like you need to pee real bad and you
Ping
just can't stop.
chillin', ping chillin'.
You're
Can't
just like,
stop the feeling. Guess I'm pissing all over my house.
It doesn't want to stop. Ah!
there are
Okay.
so many cobras.
What?
I have like a residual memory of that, but I don't know where it's from.
I don't understand this fucking reference. What do you mean there are too many cobras? What is this from? I need to see this. Actually, maybe later. We only like 14
We've
minutes
made-
in.
Yeah, we have not made a lot of progress.
Let's keep going.
The father he lost. And now that his graduation is gone and done with, his childhood and adolescence is over. He's an adult now, and like Uncle Ben said, he has to decide what man he wants to be.
These are the years when a man changes the man he's going to become the rest of his life. Just be careful who you change into.
Geez, I swear Rosemary Harris's words of encouragement as Aunt May are more powerful than any punch Spider-Man could ever deliver to my gut.
Can't help thinking about the last thing I said to him. He tried to tell me something important.
I don't know. Spider-Man can punch pretty hard. Have you seen him? He's quite strong.
Thank you,
And I
Shani,
threw
very
it in
cool.
his face.
You loved him, and he loved you. He never doubted the man you'd grow into. How you were meant for great things. You won't disappoint him.
Going forward, this is
What?
the point where Aunt May
What?
essentially
What the
becomes his
fuck?
guiding light. The one he can turn
She
to
just
if
pumped
anything,
spinach into him?
the one person who can steer him back to the
Emotional
straight and
spinach
narrow.
moment.
Harry's in love with her. She's still his girl.
Well, isn't that up to her?
She doesn't really know who I am.
Because you won't let her. You're so mysterious all the time. I believe there's a hero in...
Stop it.
I believe there's a hero in all of us.
I need a hero.
all of us that keeps us
Gotta be
honest,
strong.
gives us
gotta be
strength, makes
fat.
us noble, and finally allows us to
Gotta
die
be
with pride.
morbidly obese
Start
to
by doing
outrun the
hardest
rats.
thing. You forgive
What?
yourself. I believe in you, Peter. You're a good person.
Can
Like I
barely
said,
hear
when
the
Peter was
video.
on the Chrysler building, he knows revenge won't bring his
I
uncle
have
back. The killer is dead, but this
Numpty up to
didn't
like
leave
a
Peter
million
feeling
percent.
fulfilled,
I
it
can't
leaves
raise
him
it any
empty.
higher.
Nothing he can do will change the past, and so Peter
I'm
makes
in
a
on my
choice
end.
to take his uncle's last words to heart, use them as a code to live by, and embrace the responsibility bestowed upon him by his gifts, so that what happened to
Yeah, I
his
thought we were
uncle...
talking about Spider-Man 1.
Mr. Sophistic
What a
Autistic, you might not have been here for the first
It reminds me of the cat doing like the what the fuck pose.
Yeah, in the first video that we had last week when we were covering like the first hour
need
of
this
this
as a
video,
screenshot.
he routinely brings up the sequels in terms of like the Raimi movies to strengthen his points, which is odd because he also mentioned several times that he's going to ignore what happens in the sequels to strengthen the points for why this movie is good. Like for example,
like
he ignores the
carjacker.
he ignores the retcon of Sandman to be like, well, you see, intentionally, this scene is actually supposed to be the carjacker's fault, not Sandman's. When like, yeah, we all know what a retcon is, but yeah, he chooses what is fine and what isn't to strengthen his point. So, yeah. Saying it's a Doug Walker joke is a compliment to Doug Walker. Alright then.
doesn't happen to anyone else.
You
And so
clearly
Peter
failed
decides
no
to
Nostalgia
bring
Critic
the
November.
vision of the
Yeah,
costume he
you
originally
invoked the
intended
Lord's
to
name.
life, to wear a mask to protect his identity and the lives of his loved ones, and to find...
So Spider-Man 1 is a masterpiece because of things Spider-Man 2 did? Kinda. Kinda, but not really, no. Yes, but actually no.
Yeah, I don't know.
We don't know.
It's complicated. I don't
This
know
video
why
sucks.
If the movie is such a masterpiece, I don't know why you would have to rely so much on sequels to contribute to your point.
Yeah.
Unless
Especially
your
since
point
this
is
movie
like...
wasn't made with sequels in mind.
Actually, no. Never
Your
mind.
point is it wasn't, and then the others came out, and now it is.
Yo.
finally take up
It's just
the
confirmation
crime-fighting
bias is
mantle
all it
of
is.
Spider-Man. We're then treated to a very amusing, very entertaining montage of Spider-Man fighting crime and a whole bunch of random accounts from New Yorkers who have caught a brief glimpse of him in action or heard about him in the newspaper from some other witnesses.
My brother saw him building a nest in the Lincoln Center fountain.
Some kind of freaky Lewis something. Wackadoo.
I see the web, and it's his signature, and I know Spider-Man was here.
My favorite eyewitness account is the one where...
He stinks, and I don't like him.
Okay, my second favorite eyewitness account is the one where a wild Lucy...
And yet you don't believe that a single person would
Why don't you
have
bring
the means
attention
of
to
bringing up that people that
the
know who Peter
comedian
Parker is.
that was just in that scene. That's oh my god, I've forgotten his name.
Jerry
But he
Lewis.
is a comedian. Who?
I don't know. I just said a name.
I thought so.
I don't know who that is. So.
Jim Norton.
Wild Lucy Lawless appears.
Lawless appears, disguised as this random punk rock chick. Much like Bruce
I don't
Campbell,
know who Lucy Lawless is.
another friend of Sam Raimi, who knows him very well from being the lead star in his late 90s adventure series, Xena Warrior Princess. And she's also gone on to aid him in some of his other projects, along with Bruce Campbell as well, such as Ash vs. Evil Dead. Great show, by the way. Definitely check it out.
Wait, go back to that previous image. No,
He's also gone on to aid him in some of his other projects, along with...
Pause. Bruce Campbell looks like a fucking knockoff Nicolas Cage in this image, and it's very distressing.
It's kind of like half Nicolas Cage, half
It looks like AI has like modified his face to be half Nicolas Cage. Also, that haircut on the right is incredible.
Yeah. Bart Simpson looking ass.
It's
Bruce
Alberto.
Campbell as well, such as Ash vs. Evil Dead.
Oh no. We do not condone this use of language on this podcast. Darth is no longer welcome. He will be cancelled on Twitter, but Twitter's being deleted in like 3
What
days.
use
That's
of
fine.
language?
Shut up, Darth.
Okay.
Great show, by the way. Definitely check it out.
Guy with 8 hands. Sounds hot.
But like I said, the montage is very entertaining, well-paced, and is just plain awesome for two distinct reasons. Firstly,
It's just
we get to
really
see
cool and
Spider-Man
I
kick
like
You
it.
just
some
gave us
serious
two
ass,
reasons.
But it's also
Fucking
showing us
how?
Spider-Man in his daily element, helping the city of New York.
Oh
with all
my
sorts of
god, I'm
muggings
having
and
a
armed
seizure.
robberies, crimes that warrant a friendly neighborhood Spider-Man's intervention. Not every conflict with Spider-Man
Do not
has to pertain to
resuscitate.
his ultimate villains. The small stuff is good too, and it allows us to get more of a well-rounded view of Spider-Man. The second reason why I love this montage is because it gives you a more well-rounded look at the people of New York and how they perceive Spider-Man. The people of New York in this movie is its own kind of character, which has something of an arc throughout this movie and the entire trilogy, in fact,
Cosmo
which I'll
point.
talk about more later.
The guy protects us, you know? He protects the people.
Also, these Spider-Man animations are gorgeous, even 20 years later. They are some of my favorite shots in the entire film. But now we come to, hands down, the greatest casting choice in this entire movie, which is saying something since Willem Dafoe's Green Goblin is in this film. And this is arguably the greatest casting choice in a comic book movie to date. J.K. Simmons as J. Jonah Jameson.
Yeah, he's pretty good.
Don't have to suck
editor
my
at the
cock,
Daily
Anomaly.
Bugle.
Who is Spider-Man? He's a criminal, that's who he is. A vigilante. A public menace. What's he doing on my front page?
Jameson is a page 6 problem.
We have a page 1 problem. Shut up.
Fun fact that likely all of you should know at this point, Stan Lee himself wanted to play the part of J. Jonah Jameson. Unfortunately, Stan Lee was simply too old to play the role of J. Jonah Jameson when Spider-Man
not
1
think
was
about
finally
that?
being made. However, Lee made it
Oh.
absolutely clear that because J.K. Simmons screen tested so well in the auditions, it made him believe that Simmons was the right choice to play Jameson all along.
Anyway. And I always wanted to play him in the movie. I was so sorry that by the time the movie was made, I'm too old to play him. And the guy who's playing it in the movies is wonderful. He did it better than I could have done. And that's very high praise.
That's
for
saying
me.
a lot for you, yeah.
Anyway,
What a legend. And this won't be the last time I speak about Stan Lee in this video.
We're only halfway
Okay.
through, so yeah, I do believe that.
I mean, his cameo hasn't even happened yet, so yeah.
True.
Anyway, Jameson is pissed because his editors are insistent on having Spider.
We know you just played the fucking stop it. Why? I wonder how much of this video we could literally just chalk up to he's recapping the scene again, because I want a supercut of this video where we just have all the filler taken out and wonder how long it actually would be. Probably like a third of its
20
actual
minutes.
length. 20-minute video, yeah. We
Yeah,
rid
I'd
of
say about
the
20 minutes.
We get rid of the 5 minutes at the start where he's just bitching about demonetization. We get rid of all the recap. We get rid of all the fucking shitty reaction clips, and then we just get down to like a 25-minute video. It would be great.
Spider-Man is
4
the front
minutes.
page headline for this week's issue of the Bugle. We get introduced to Betty Brant, played by Elizabeth Banks, still early in her career, Hoffman, played by Ted Raimi, brother of the director, and Bill Nunn as Robbie Robertson. I love how the scene starts while the Bugle is in the middle of trying to
Robbie
meet its
Robertson.
deadline when things are busiest, and
That
you get
guy.
to see Jameson when he's as pissed off as he can be.
They're really important clients. They can't wait.
They're about to.
She just needs to know if you want the chintz or the chenille in the dining room.
Whichever one's cheaper.
I think I read or heard somewhere that J.K. Simmons just sat down in the middle of a newspaper publisher for several days just observing things so he could get an idea of what it was actually like. And yeah, I'd say it worked wonders for the performance he gave. Well done, Mr. Simmons.
Yeah, he actually has that telescope or that microscope, whatever the fucking scope is there in the background, just because the editor that he went and visited had one. That's the only reason it's there. He just copied the person he went to go and visit. That, which is fine. Adds
He's
nothing, but
snooping.
It's funny.
Simmons.
Estoy
Anyway,
snooping.
Jameson is skeptical about endorsing Spider-Man on the front page, thinking he's a masked criminal inflicting terror on New York. But at the same time, he can't deny the attention of a story like this when Robbie tells him they're selling out papers left, right, and center.
Something goes wrong and this creepy crawler is there. Look at that. He's fleeing the scene. What's that tell you?
We sold out 4 printings.
Sold out?
Every copy.
Tomorrow morning, Spider-Man, page 1 with a decent picture this time.
In addition to that, and I'll come back to this briefly in a few minutes, but Robbie tells him, despite the fact they want to put him on the front page, they can't get a decent picture of him. Spider-Man shows up out of nowhere and disappears like a ghost. And Jameson, as tenacious as ever, tells him to put out an ad for freelance photographers to bring him photos. But he's not going to spread the good word about
Why is
Spider-Man.
that tenacious?
Quite the opposite.
He just wants fucking photos for his paper. What do you mean?
He's not. We've already reached the part of the video where brain rot is starting to set in because
Yeah.
nothing's actually happening or being said. I had more fun talking about Black Panther.
Same.
Jesus Christ.
Can't believe
You're
it's
so
gonna be
bad at your
another
job.
hour until we're a third of the way through.
Yeah, no, this is a tanky fucking video. It takes a while to get through.
In
Let's
fact,
not
he
prolong the
intends to
pain.
paint his actions
No.
how he sees it, which is in the most negative way possible. The media and their agendas, folks. Welcome to reality.
Yeah, but no, that's not the same thing. That is not the same thing. I'm actually glad he said this because now it gives me something to
Daily
talk about.
Bugle, literally Fox News. Amazing.
No, JJ actually has a reason for disliking Spider-Man. It's because he thinks that he's an actual menace. He has a reason to believe that because he's like, oh, well, why is this person always at the scene of the crime and just so happens to leave as soon as actual authorities
Why is
get
he
there?
masked?
He's basically like a fucking...
He's a freak!
What's the word I'm looking for? He's a conspiracy theorist who runs a newspaper ad.
He's
No, don't remind me of Alex Jones, Jana Jomison in fucking No Way Home.
Alex Jomison James Johnson, yeah. AJJJ.
Oh wait, he is Alex Jones in
Cash money for a
that.
picture with Spider-Man. He doesn't want to be famous, and I'll make him infamous.
Love that fucking line. Now we cut back to Peter, who has another
Okay,
chance
bro.
encounter with Mary Jane as she exits the diner she's recently started working at. Something I want to point out is how much Peter has grown so far since acquiring his powers. See, the first time he encounters Mary Jane after he gets bitten by the spider, he caught her attention when he stopped her from falling, but then he
Literally
froze
caught her.
in front of her, unable to get his words out, which came across as incredibly awkward to her. And this is even after he tried rehearsing what he might say to her if he ever had the courage to
Yes,
walk up
we
to
know.
her
You spoke
and
about the
strike up a
scene at great
conversation
length.
so that he wouldn't get tongue-tied.
help.
But unfortunately,
Get to the
first time that
point.
didn't work. The next time, however, it was another chance encounter where the two just happened to cross paths with each other as
They're neighbors.
Just each other as
neighbors. Something that Mary Jane instigated, but only because she felt embarrassed. And that time, Peter didn't freeze. Instead, I'd say he knocked it
never
out of
freeze.
the park. But this time,
never
however,
freeze.
Peter feels confident and assertive enough to chase after Mary Jane and out of nowhere strike up a conversation with her.
MJ, it's me, Peter. Hi.
Well, not just that. It could have. I mean, you said yourself that this happens months after Uncle Ben's death, so this could have happened months or weeks later after the graduation. So it's the first time he's seeing her in a while, and he just wants to play catch up, which is literally what he says. He's like, "Hey, you want to grab some coffee sometime? I'll come by for some of your Moondance pie or Moondance coffee sometime."
Moondance High.
Moondance pie, you gronk. But Moondance
Want a
high,
cheeseburger?
not too bad. $7.08.
Moondance
Sky's the
pie.
limit. But yeah, I mean, like, obviously he would strike up a conversation because, firstly, he's not a hormonal teenager anymore. He's left high school. He's in attempting to get a job. He's in college. He's bunking with Harry in an apartment. You know, he's matured. It's not
I
necessarily
think it's
because of
just
his
because he's
spider
broken the
powers.
ice with MJ when they had that really nice, meaningful conversation out the back of the house. It's just a lot easier to talk to someone after that.
Not just that, but I mean, a lot of stuff has happened in Peter's life that would naturally just mature him. You've got the death of Uncle Ben, you've got the powers, you've got the fact that you're moving out of your own home, so you're gaining your own independence.
Yeah, he has a lot
you've-
of reason to have more self-confidence.
Yeah, this is a more mature Peter Parker, and the thing that happens is that as you mature, as you get older, you get more life experience, I guess. Certain things that bug you aren't.
What are you doing around here?
I'm
anymore.
begging for a job.
And you can tell by her reaction, it isn't just surprise. She's genuinely thrilled to see him, especially after the shit day she's having. When her manager comes out soon
She
after,
exploded.
much like her father, chases her down out of the diner just to talk to her
Father's Green Goblin chasing it down with a fucking missile. Very nice.
like she's trash.
But you're always short $6. Next time that happens, I'm gonna take out your check. Excuse me, Miss Watson. I'm talking to you. Hey!
Yes, Enrique, okay? I get you.
Well, you better not happen no more, you hear me? Don't roll your eyes at me.
But Peter, once again, renders
Wait,
no
that's not her
judgment.
father,
Instead,
Anomaly.
just focuses on the positive, telling her how
I think
thrilled
he means
is that
like
she's
her
heading
father,
to an
just
audition
talking
and
nice.
she's
Oh, okay.
actively striving to be who she wants to be.
That's great, MJ. You're doing it. You're living your dream.
I like the fact that he placed this after that because it's like, you've always wanted to work in a
I could
shitty
hear
diner.
Enrico peeking in right at the end of "You're living the dream," and it just cuts.
Yeah, that was great.
DB, what the fuck do you mean by that? Am I playing of Tazem Peter just said Shazam, catching up, I could feel... What? What does that mean?
I need a team of experts to analyze and translate
And my
that.
playing of Tazem Peter just said Shazam catching up. I can feel it.
Did you type that with your dick?
He's playing this in the
So good
background,
job.
so he's not paying as much attention, but even then, I can't excuse what he just said. What do you mean by this?
Everyone
I think
point and
maybe he's
laugh at this
watching the
man.
first movie, not Tazem. He's watching the first one, and he's just said Shazam, so he's on the rooftop, and he's watching it at the same time we're playing this video. That's my best interpretation.
Okay. I
Maybe.
don't understand what the catching up I can feel it part means though.
Peepo.
Peepo Parker.
Peepo. Peepo. Peepo.
Some dream, huh?
That's nothing to be embarrassed about.
But sadly, this conversation
agree,
acts as
being
something of a
employed
knife
is
to the
not an
heart for
embarrassing
Peter when
thing.
Mary Jane tells him not to tell Harry about her working in some crappy diner. Since being
tell
an Osborn, he comes from
Tell
incredibly high
Harry.
class living and wouldn't approve. Peter is initially
Tell
confused until
Harry
Mary
I
Jane
hate
tells
him.
that she and Harry are officially dating.
Don't tell Harry.
Don't tell Harry.
Aren't you guys living together? We're going out, didn't he tell you?
Oh yeah.
Thanks.
That was very unnecessarily loud. Ow.
How is never as important as why.
To all my viewers and chats, I do apologize for the unnecessary ear rape from Anomaly.
God, that was fucking hilarious.
Yeah, right.
The nerve of that prick. And then Harry actually has the balls to ask Peter to help him with some of his college homework? What a backstabbing rat bastard.
The nerve of the guy to start dating a person he hasn't seen
Oh
in
my
fucking
God.
weeks. You rat bastard. What the fuck?
Damn.
The
Anomaly would be pretty possessive in a relationship, I think.
the amazing man spider moving in the background.
Amazing man spider.
Does he say Shazam in that movie? I can't fucking remember.
don't
Amazing
remember.
man spider.
Man, I'm glad
I
you're here.
forgot.
I need your help. I'm really lost.
I'm gonna put some dirt in your eye. No,
Why
Nah,
is he
but
in his
for
head?
real, Harry tells Peter he meant no malice by this.
showing
later
me
on.
footage of
It was
spiders,
just as
I'll
simple
fucking
as he
kill
had a
you.
crush on her too, and Peter simply didn't act on his.
Yeah, no shit, you fucking
I
rat
should've told
bastard.
you about us. You should know I'm crazy about her. It's just, you know, you never made a move.
You're right. I didn't.
And while that's true, I refuse to believe yet again, given the timing and not to mention the secrecy, that it wasn't partially due to Peter's son-like relationship to Harry's father. And that father-son relationship with Norman Osborn.
Why can't it just be that Harry just wants to date a person that he's liked since he met her?
Even if that does play into it, why does that make him a rat bastard? If anything, that just gives him more justification.
I just don't think Anomaly knows what a healthy relationship with another person looks like, because fucking hell, he's really going in at Harry in this video. He really doesn't like him. Seems very strange.
Harry and Peter's friendship. I mean, it's a little. I think it's very stray near the end, but it's. Yeah, it's pretty mutual all the way through most of the movie, I would say.
Yeah.
Is
Bros
what
been
Harry wants more than
bros.
anything in the world. And this is very telling because despite his feelings for MJ, his relationship to her is hindered by the fact that he's also using her to gain his father's approval. Really shows where his priorities are at and why the relationship with MJ ultimately doesn't work out for Harry, but I'll get back to that later on. Peter, on the other hand, doesn't see Mary Jane that way at all. Aside from his genuine affection,
It's probably because he doesn't need to get the approval of his dad. He's dead.
for Mary Jane, unlike Harry, Peter is actually from the same world as her. I mean, hell, they were neighbors who grew up 10 feet from each other. So of course Peter isn't judgmental about where Mary Jane works simply to make ends meet.
I think he'd hate the idea of my waiting
Why would she-
tables.
why-
Think it was low or something.
That's not low.
Oh, that,
You have
right.
a job. You know, Harry, he doesn't live on a little place I like to call Earth.
Anyway, MJ leaves the conversation feeling much better about herself, even offering to hang out at some point. Peter reciprocates, but far more forwardly than she did, which is why she pauses and gives him this curious look, and so he wisely backtracks.
Curious and curious.
Well, I'll come by and have some of your Moondance coffee someday, and I won't tell Harry.
No, don't tell Harry.
I won't. I won't tell Harry.
Also, some very heavy foreshadowing here, especially since when Harry actually does find out that there's chemistry between these two, it leads to a domino effect that ends up getting his father killed, ultimately killing any chance of the one relationship he's always wanted.
Your quest for
Godspeed,
pussy
Spider-Man.
killed your father, Harry.
Broom her.
Once you've got what you want with a broomer.
Do what you need to and broom her fast.
And this moment is obviously echoed by
Broomer
Norman Osborn's
fat
last words.
Frickin' okay, Broomer.
Don't tell Harry.
I won't tell Harry. No, don't tell Harry.
I won't. I won't tell Harry.
Why is he fucking so stretched?
Instantly tells Harry.
Why is he Wido Maguire? What the fuck?
Wido Maguire.
What happened?
I am the great Wido Maguire.
Also, fun fact, Norman Osborn's final words were not initially in the final script, and Sam Raimi decided to insert this little callback in a reshoot, not just to pay off the foreshadowing from earlier, but also to inform the reason behind Peter's decision to keep Norman's alter ego a secret.
This shot of Willem coming up was actually shot later. This one. You can tell because he was already in another show, and he had to wear a wig.
Don't tell Harry.
He just wanted him, the reason we did that shot was we wanted him to say, "Don't tell Harry." Rather than it being an act of kindness, Peter performs not telling Harry. We wanted him to fulfill the last wish of Norman Osborn, this man who had been the surrogate father to him, so that he had an obligation, a friendship, to perform these last acts, to keep this dark secret.
We'll talk more about that later as well. We then cut to Peter and Harry's apartment, and once again we see Harry frustrated.
We'll talk about this more later on, so I decided to bring it up now for some reason. Okay.
Frustrated that Norman has spent his weekly visit primarily on the phone, likely dealing with a whole bunch of military contract offers after Green Goblin bombed the shit out of Aerospace's prototype. Anyway, like I said, Harry has some nerve to ask Peter for help with his college assignments after backstabbing him.
Peter's a fucking bro! Why would he say...
They live together.
Yeah, that'd be really good to have a relationships with so much animosity that you can't even like get help with homework. Fucking hell.
Maybe that's why they move out at the end of the movie. Peter just stopped wanting to help Harry with his homework. Get your own fucking tutor.
I'll do my own homework and I'll live in my own place.
He never listens. He's always critical.
That's literally his dad.
Storm and Norman's making his weekly inspection. Spent half of it on the phone. Look, man, I'm glad you're here. I need your help. I'm really lost.
Is the audio peaking for anyone else?
No, it's not the audio peaking. It's Uvu's mics crackling occasionally.
Uvu, check yourself before you...
You're hearing that, right?
It came off to me as if he was answering with the fucking static. I was like, Uvu, and he's like, yes, but the S was just static, and I was like...
Don't worry, I speak fluent fly.
Feeling down in the dumps, unbeknownst that it's due to the revelation about Harry and MJ's relationship, but Peter lies to Harry, not looking to start a confrontation, at least not yet.
What the fuck is...
Why
are we watching this
Two more
scene?
movies of development, but alright.
I like his
this is
hair
the
in
next
this
day.
frame. It's very fluffy. Look at that.
I like his face in this frame.
Yeah, it's also very fluffy.
But in addition to this, Sam Raimi treats the fans of the comics to a neat little line, mentioning one of the Spider-Man franchise's most renowned characters.
You won't see Doc Ock in this, but you will see a cameo of one other villain at least, maybe two.
Look like you just got second place in the science fair.
No, I was late for work and Dr. Connors fired me.
You were late again?
Dr. Connors being one of Peter's mentors as well as also one of his mainline villains, the...
Who fucking cares?
Oh my god, how does this make Spider-Man 1 a masterpiece?
Doc Connors is
It
also...
referenced the comics. Whoa!
Doc Connors also shows up
The
in not just
Rick
the
Wally
second movie, but also the third movie as well, as a character who helps Peter with his studies and actually figuring out what the symbiote is, so...
Peter Parker in Spider-Man 3 looks like an Onision fan. Oh no, it does.
Lizard.
Panic
but
at
that's
the
not
Disco
the only
looking
fan
ass.
service mention of a Spider-Man character, because back at the Bugle, and I did say I would mention this, we're treated to the mention of yet another famous Spider-Man character.
Problem is, we don't have a decent picture. Eddie's been on it for weeks. We can barely get a glimpse of him.
It's so
cool.
Subtle, but Robbie was actually
Yo, it's
talking about
Eddie.
Eddie Brock, another one of Peter's initial antagonists.
It could also have been Eddie Cock, his cousin.
Look at this dude. Look at the top of his head.
He's a thumb.
Who would later become the villain / anti-hero known as Venom. Now, these lines are undoubtedly in the context of Spider-Man 1, simply for fan service, and it's appreciated, but it does later impact the continuity of its sequels. Since Dr. Connors in Spider-Man 2 isn't actually Peter's employer, instead he's one of his university professors.
Wow, Dr. Connors.
Oh God.
What happened to your audio?
Jesus
It's
Christ.
worse
Can you
than
not
mine.
reroute it through a
Should
fucking
we call
string
this on
phone?
a fucking ham radio?
Also, this doesn't necessarily mean that the continuity is buggered. Peter could have been working underneath Dr. Connors as an assistant or as an intern, and then gotten fired because he was late too many times, and then still gone and like studied at the university. It's not an inconsistency.
Me when I'm studied.
It's just a thing. Dr. Connors could also literally just do this for fun if he wants to, or just a second line of income or whatever. It's not a problem.
Sorry, where were you headed, Parker? To your class. My class is over. See me standing here? Your paper on fusion is still overdue. I know. I'm planning to write it on.
Do you guys remember Spider-Man 2?
I do.
No.
You clearly don't, and I'm going to make sure you do by playing the scene that needed to go on for 5 seconds for 15.
Dr. Otto Octavius.
Though I suppose it was possible that Peter was employed on campus helping him with his research.
Who fucking
There's no mention of that in the
cares?
sequel, and that certainly didn't look to impact their relationship at all, the fact that he was fired. So it's hard for me to give the benefit of the doubt here. I'm pretty sure that this was a small bit of continuity glossed over, but the way Eddie Brock is introduced in Spider-Man 3 is far more blatant with breaking continuity.
Again, they don't give his last name, it's just Eddie. There's more than one Eddie in this fucking world of ours. Again,
Suppose
his
there's
last name
plausible
could have just been...
deniability.
It could have been Eddie Flock for all you care. It doesn't need to be Eddie Brock. Seriously.
Oh
just
no, fucking Flock from AOC.
long distant relative.
Since, despite it being over 2 years in the future, Eddie Brock was only just hired at the Daily Bugle.
Who are you? You hired him last week. Freelance. I did? What's that smell?
It's Brock, sir. Edward Brock Jr.
So even though this
What's that smell?
Brock.
It's Brock's.
Do you
I like
smell
that
what
line.
the Brock is cooking?
It's fucking funny.
isn't the fault of Spider-Man 1. It is somewhat frustrating that Raimi didn't follow up on what was set up. However, it is perfectly understandable why these...
Maybe Raimi was like, there's more than 180, people won't care too much, and then he's like, oh, never mind, there's some random Australian who's giving me shit for it.
inserts were so short-sighted, because in actuality, Raimi wasn't really
I peered into my crystal ball and I saw this guy called Anomaly Inc. And I decided I had to change my film's plans entirely.
One of the nice things about
shut
our
up, Anomaly.
ongoing soap opera, something like Spider-Man, obviously will have sequels.
Your analysis is
poo.
poo.
I like his hair.
It's garbage, human garbage. Yeah, he's got some cool slur there.
For some reason,
He's
I
got
thought
the
he was
mean
wearing an
hairdo.
earring, but it's just a fucking mole under his ear.
Why does Anomaly Inc. use fucking impact font for his subtitles? Everything
'Cause
looks
it's the
like a boomer
default.
meme as a result.
Actually, no. He just thinks it's, I don't know, good.
He's actually 83 years old.
Looking forward to seeing where the character goes.
Yes. I mean, it doesn't necessarily mean that they're doing one, or if they do, that I'll be in it. But if they choose, so I'm in it.
Oh yes, they already have it planned. So yes, I'm sure there will be sequels.
Wait, what?
It's all her, but no one else.
I haven't had a chance to work on it yet.
The sequel, which they're working on now, and then the following sequels, they will all have visuals that'll be breathtaking.
And that's why I can
What?
somewhat find it forgivable. Especially since Raimi didn't even want Venom in the third movie, and two...
No, instead he wanted Vulture, Venom... he wanted Vulture, Sandman, and
Vulture
the
Venom.
Green Goblin 2.0, so... Yeah.
I thought Vulture was in the Spider-Man 4 plans.
Yeah, he was in the Spider-Man 4 plans, but initially Raimi wanted him in Spider-Man 3 alongside Sandman and Harry.
Okay.
So I'm not gonna lie, I prefer having Venom over Vulture. I think Vulture would have been an odd choice to have. But then again, I would prefer just to have like 1 or 2 villains and not 3. It's a bit much.
To his credit, aside from the casting choice, actually did a pretty damn good and faithful job with bringing Venom to life. Anyway, Norman presses Peter on the identity of Harry's new girlfriend, showing genuine enthusiasm to meet her. But Harry is hesitant, at least for the moment. I love how Peter and Norman, as if to be on the same frequency as each other, give Harry this glare, insinuating with their eyes that he should quit pussyfooting around and come clean. Harry, on the other hand, is eager to...
Why'd you pause?
I was processing what he said and it clicked. Because, yeah, I'm just trying to remember the movie myself. No, never mind.
Change the subject and tells his dad that Peter could use help finding a job. Norman offers, but Peter reluctantly turns him down. And I love Norman Osborn's line here.
You want to make it on your own steam. That's great.
Norman
You
Osborn
can
looks
really
like a
see
melted
the
Patrick
admiration
Bateman
Norman
in this
has
movie.
for Peter here, probably seeing a lot of himself in Peter since Norman presumably started Oscorp from practically nothing.
I started this company.
We'll get to that in a second.
started
Peter,
this
despite
company.
being a poor boy from Queens, wants to find his own work and take no shortcuts, which is commendable. And like I said, since Norman sees a lot of himself in Peter, it's just another way that they can connect on a level that Norman can't with his own son, since Harry didn't have a similar upbringing to Norman. Harry grew up very privileged, hated school, flunked out of every...
You're presuming all of this stuff. You don't
Do we
really
know
have any
anything
evidence to support
about Norman's
this.
upbringing? Is that in the movie?
No, we don't. He's gathering all of this from fucking thin air. There's nothing to support his inference on how Norman grew up. Norman might just have a level of admiration for Peter wanting to do his own thing because he's outgoing, he's looking after himself, and he doesn't need the assistance of other people, which is an admirable trait for someone like Norman. He doesn't need to relate to him by having a similar past. That's just... It's a silly inference, and just seems like you're reaching. If anything, I think there's actually, like, more evidence to support that Norman did come from a cushy upbringing, because I'm pretty sure the butler says that he's been serving the Oscorp family for generations. But that's Spider-Man 3, so whatever.
Serving the Oscorp family for generations!
Yeah.
Every private school Norman sent him to, grew up in a New York penthouse, and Norman can easily, with his wealth and influence, get him over any speed bumps he's likely to come across. And once again, you can tell this really pisses Harry off. And I've said this several times now, but again, it's obvious Harry sees Peter like a brother, but he undoubtedly harbors a lot of resentment as well, which adds an extra layer of depth to their dynamic as characters, and this does, to some extent, inform several of Harry's decisions against Peter, malicious or not, throughout the movie. But moving forward, Peter spots Jameson's ad that the Daily Bugle was desperate for pictures of Spider-Man, and just like that, he's found his job. The next sequence is pretty awesome, as Spider-Man, with some excellent grace and athleticism, dispatches another group of armed robbers in what's a pretty cool fight scene.
Well, no, he first had to set up the cameras
His head
and
almost
swing
went up
away
the
from the
ass.
crime scene and then swing back. So, yeah, I guess he gracefully set up those cameras and then gracefully left, then gracefully came back. So, true.
And he does this all while smiling for the cameras he set up, which makes the scene somewhat hilarious at the same time. And this is followed up by even more hilarity as Jameson compliments Peter's excellent Spidey photography.
They're crap. 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 Mega crap.
Peter ultimately gets paid, but it's not until he delivers the photos that he finds out Jameson's true intentions is to condemn Spider-Man's actions and not celebrate them. And suddenly Peter isn't so sure about what he's doing, but Jameson assures him everything's golden and sends him on his way.
Meat. I'll send you a nice box of Christmas meat. Best I can do. Get out of here. Bring me more photos.
Ensures that everything is golden. Promises to give him Christmas meat as a bonus. Alright then. Darth, is Australia a shithole by any chance?
What?
Is Australia a shithole by any chance?
Where's
The
this
reason
coming from?
the reason I'm asking that is because I want to know if there's anyone in Australia who would see the incentive of Christmas meat as a golden opportunity to stay working there.
Australia does in fact have poor people, yes.
Ah, okay, fine, fair enough.
And then we get some classic Toby as Peter Parker, still dorky as ever, attempts what can only very loosely be described as a flirt.
Thank you.
Fly is back.
I'm Peter Parker. I'm a photographer.
Yes, I can see that.
I'm a photographer.
Then the movie cuts to Oscorp, and turns out Oscorp is doing very well indeed. And Norman Osborn, the grouchy old fuck, is actually in a good mood for a change. Well, that is until...
We're selling the company.
What?
So apparently Quest Aerospace wants to aggressively expand and absorb Oscorp after their base and most expensive military assets was
backfired on him.
Oblivion. So just spitballing here, but I'm guessing the thought process is that they'd rather dedicate their finances to acquiring Oscorp's assets instead of trying to make their own from scratch.
What?
What? Disney does make their own stuff. What the fuck are you talking about?
I have nothing to say about this. I'm just confused.
I'm just trying to compare aerospace engineering or whatever the fuck they're called to Disney.
Yeah, but he said that they're trying to prioritize taking other people's stuff instead of making their own. But
yeah,
why?
Yeah, no.
Is this a criticism or is this just an observation?
It's a massive stretch. Definitely a criticism because he doesn't like Disney.
Alright, sure.
But the catch is Norman, the CEO of the company and its founder, gets ousted so that there's no power struggle.
They made a tender offer we can't ignore.
Why wasn't I told?
The last thing they want is a power struggle, entrenched management.
The deal is off if you come with it. The board expects your resignation in 30 days.
On the other hand, this is while the board of directors and the investors get to keep their positions and get all the profit from the merger. Though I'd imagine Norman Osborn would have a sizable investment in the company and would get a large payout from the deal, but point stands, Norman is rightfully pissed, especially since these weasels went behind his back. Even Max. Now, I don't know much about Max. None of us get the chance to. But Norman looks and pleads to him like he's a considered longtime friend of Norman's who betrayed him. But Max tells him that the board is unanimous, meaning he went against Norman willingly as well.
We're buddies!
In light of this revelation, that his
I
company
knew I
is being
couldn't trust a
sold,
bald
Norman,
person.
bewildered at this turn of events, can't contain his rage, and just completely goes off on these guys.
But you can't do this to me.
It's unreasonable. It's
I
unfair.
started this company. You know how much I sacrificed?
Honestly, real talk here, Norman Osborn's sacrifice quote hits very differently as an adult. Like, as a child, I memed on it loads because I thought it was funny, and because I thought it was incredibly over the top.
What?
But being older and having a better understanding of how the world works, this line
I doubt
is
that
actually
Anomaly.
quite heartbreaking, because you realize Norman
Highly
is...
doubt that.
Pro wrestling is fake and staged, but also you have no idea how pro wrestling works.
You have no idea how much I sacrificed.
Oh, Lord.
Do you know how much I sacrificed watching this video? My
I've
brain
learned a lot as
cells,
an
all
adult.
of them.
I've learned a lot as an adult, such as how Harry's a dirty backstabber. Yeah, fuck you, Henry.
is actually referring to Harry here. And it shows, despite him not having the best relationship with his son, he does care about Harry immensely, and that is one of his biggest regrets in life. That he wasn't able to have the relationship he wanted with him. And he did it all for Oscorp. Oscorp is everything to him. And
Finally,
as I previously
a good bit of
Norman
analysis.
can't
I
let
never thought of it
Oscorp
like that.
fail,
That's
and
good.
this is
Cool.
why. He can't let it fail because in his eyes, his sacrifices were all for naught. The regret he feels for a lack of a close relationship with his son is, in a tragic way, the driving force for what causes Norman to become the Green Goblin in the first place. Or at least, that's half of his driving force. I'll get back to the other half a bit later. But when the scene comes to a close and the chairman of the board tells Norman he's out, putting it very mildly here, Norman has other plans.
You're out, Norman.
Urge to kill rising.
The audio quality, why?
Okay. Adds nothing. Actually detracts from the scene's impact.
Urge to kill
It wouldn't be an anomaly
rising.
point if it didn't happen.
Comparison's sake, much like back in the laboratory when the General threatened Oscorp, Norman looks defeated and scared. And at first, that's what Norman does here.
I'm
When Max and the
petrified.
chairman give him the news. Norman looks heartbroken, defeated, and bewildered. That is until the Green Goblin smiles back. I just wanted to mention that because I think it's a nice indication for growth and change within the character as the story progresses. But then we cut to the Oscorp Unity Day Festival. Not much really to say about.
The only thing I would say about that scene is that Norman responds to the statement, "You're out, Norman," with "am I?" So if you're arguing from the standpoint of Norman and Green Goblin are two different people, then Goblin wouldn't refer to himself as Norman, he would refer to himself as Goblin.
I don't think that's
So-
what he's saying. I think he's saying that
No, that's what he
by
said
having a
earlier.
similar situation where he initially looked scared and conflicted, now we see that there's another side to his personality coming out, that being the goblin side.
Well, no, wasn't that one of his points last week when we covered him, that Norman and Goblin were like a split personality or like
Yeah,
different
but I don't
people?
think Goblin would advertise that to others. It would only be when they're talking to each other in private.
Yeah, sure, I'm fine with that.
About it other than I've always liked the song being sung by the stage singer. It's jazzy. I don't know. I find it nostalgic.
Urge to
me.
sleep
But then we meet up
rising.
with Peter trying to get some interesting photos for the Bugle, but gets a tad discouraged when he sees one of his photos on the front page for a story discrediting Spider-Man. Later on, he tries to get some photos of the Oscorp Board of Directors, since the festival is being hosted by them. But he pauses to find Harry and MJ being together as a couple. However, not all is what it seems. As I previously mentioned, Harry is more obsessive with how MJ is dressed and what his father will think of her rather than just enjoying being with her. And MJ feels like she's being treated as some kind of trophy girlfriend, which is why when Harry goes to kiss her, she denies him.
Why did you
Denied.
I wanted to impress my father.
I just find it funny that he's mentioning this to her when they're already on the tower and have been standing here for a few minutes. It's like, oh, by the way, why aren't you wearing the black dress?
Aren't you wearing what I want, woman?
Harry, you could have mentioned this to me fucking half an hour ago when I was still getting changed. The fuck? Okay. But still, yeah, trophy wife, oh, trophy girlfriend, yeah, I'm fine with that interpretation of this. I think that is what the scene is going for. So, yeah, nothing wrong with that.
Broom her.
Well, maybe he'll be impressed no matter what. You think I'm pretty.
Aw.
I think you're beautiful.
Ouch. Peter's
You did it
attention is
again.
broken when his spider sense tingles at incoming danger. Meanwhile, Harry asks Max if Norman is going to be at the festival, and this two-faced prick smiles back at Norman's own son after backstabbing his father, telling him that Norman is probably not going to come. Oh, he's gonna show up alright. And then we finally get this awesome grand entrance of the Green Goblin flying in on his glider, circling his prey, and finally strikes at the Oscorp Board of Directors, practically demolishing the whole balcony.
Finally,
Peter
we've
watches
seen the
on
scene
being
in
the only one who
context,
is
not in a fucking
terrified.
trailer.
The Oscorp balcony begins to collapse onto innocent people, and Peter
it
almost
a
blows
minute.
his secret identity by webbing two potential victims out of the way amidst the
Stan Lee
chaos.
was in that crowd. I didn't
Some
notice.
people that I'm probably going to have to state the obvious for are wondering why no one saw him do this. Well,
Ignore them. Ignore them. There's a perfectly reasonable explanation for why Peter did this.
There's a
And
massive
to-
explosion just above them. They're
to
trying to
impl-
leave.
To imply that he would like cover his face or get into a Spider-Man suit before he has to save these people is a character assassination. Do not listen to these people. It's not worth your fucking time.
Well, obviously no one saw him because of the mass hysteria going on caused by the flying green terrorists. You
True.
may have missed that. There
Flying
was
green
actually a tiny
terrorists.
scene cut here where two small children
Hey,
by
the
sheer
trailer footage is
chance
back. Hell
happened
yeah.
to catch Peter doing this, and it's honestly kind of an adorable little scene. Peter urges them to keep quiet with a simple hand gesture before running off to save the day. Personally, I wish it was kept in. And no, even if
That's
it was, it doesn't do any damage because, like I said before, you kind of got to have evidence of him doing Spider-Man stuff in order to out his identity. Smartphones don't
Also, who's
exist
gonna
yet.
listen to
It's
a
the
child?
analog age
Hey,
where
man,
photography
where
was far
out
more
of his
scarce,
fucking
and two small
veins?
children who don't even know who Peter is ain't gonna cut it. We also get a tiny Stan Lee cameo in this sequence, but
We should
also,
cover
fun
another Under the
fact,
Mayo video.
Stan
That'd be
Lee
fun.
originally had a slightly extended scene where he actually mentions the X-Men.
Hey, how about these? They wore them in the X-Men.
And if sources are to be believed, apparently Hugh Jackman, after X-Men 2000, was meant to have a cameo at some point in this movie, but it never came to be. Personally, I'm kind of glad this didn't happen in retrospect, even though I love Hugh Jackman. But I don't know,
Sounds
maybe it's
cool,
just
but
because
I
we've
don't know.
had more than our fair share of cameos in the past 10 years. But that said, Green
Would've
Goblin
been
makes
novel
another
for the
pass at the
time.
balcony and utters
Mhm.
this iconic line.
Hold on, I just want to ask a question. DB says here that there are worse YouTubers out there, like Under the Mayo or High Tops. Do you guys think they're worse than this?
Yes.
Under the Mayo? Yeah, I
Absolutely.
could definitely see why Under the Mayo would be... Actually, no, I don't. Under the Mayo makes arguments most of the time. They're bad arguments, and we spend a lot of the time arguing against what he says, but at least he contributes something instead of just recapping the games that he's talking about or playing. High Top... yeah, High Top is probably worse. I'll go there.
Who's High Top?
The guy who goggles Sam Raimi's nutsack in the Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness video. Do you not remember that?
No.
Wow. That was the one where I just went full
memories have
face
been
off fucking
purged.
annoyance. Oh well, not important.
And he just fucking vaporizes the board of directors. Admittedly, in retrospect, this comes off as slightly goofy, but this is the kind of cheesiness you'd quite often see in the movies from the late 90s, early 2000s. And like I said at the beginning,
Not every
Spider-Man is no
movie.
exception. Though I'll briefly come back to Green Goblin's odd selection of
Raimi
weaponry
films,
later.
certainly.
Meanwhile, Mary Jane has fallen onto a large chunk.
He's also not going to mention the fact that that grenade should have vaporized MJ and Harry because they were in close proximity to the board of directors, and the grenade landed in between them. But oh, you know, it's just goofy fun from the early 2000s. Nothing wrong here.
For the
Wait, it's a
balcony that's
selective
starting to
grenade.
break off.
Wait,
Harry tries
I'm
to save her, but
confused.
What?
Were they near the board of directors when
Yes.
Goblin threw that grenade?
Yes. They're like right next to them.
I have to watch the scene again.
That's fine.
gets knocked out by a piece of falling debris. Oddly enough, Goblin, for some reason, takes a very creepy interest in trying to terrify the living hell out of Mary Jane.
He's just a
and then
goofy
this
goober.
random chick says the line we've all been waiting for.
It's Spider-Man!
Oh, I thought he was going to say, hello,
I
my
hate that I
pretty.
can't see that scene without thinking a cosmonaut now.
Why?
Hey, look, it's pro wrestling.
Yeah, I love how this movie has a knack for giving these guys great entrances. Anyway, Spider-Man saves a random boy from getting crushed. Goblin surrenders to the police officers. Admittedly, without being too pedantic here, it is a little weird that they don't try to shoot him here, despite having their weapons drawn.
I find a terrible argument is worse than no argument at all. I disagree because I haven't had much to talk about throughout this entire video, pausing ever so slightly just to talk about something.
Yeah,
at least
it's
with a terrible,
incredibly fucking boring when there's no argument.
yeah, at least with a terrible argument, it can be entertaining sometimes to just go into long chats about how
Step
bad
into
they
the
are.
tangled web of logic presented to us.
Yeah, but I mean, this is a 3-hour and 29-minute video, and if
Is
we
Cosmonaut worse than Anomaly? No.
No, Cosmonaut is his own brand of stupid, but he is definitely not worse, mostly because he's shorter. It's condensed stupidity rather than drawn out.
I
fucking
thought you meant
idiocracy.
he himself was shorter.
He might be like 4'9", I don't know.
This would be the example of a bad movie cliche. he has the suit and the helmet. I'd imagine it would be somewhat resistant to bullets, since it's meant to be used
Why would
to
you not
fly the
try?
glider.
That
And
is a
Raimi could've
bad
just had
movie
them
cliche.
fire a
Is
few
cops
rounds
not
at him
firing their
and have them
guns
bounce
because
off.
they're aware
But
of
oh
plot
well,
armor?
after the cops get their asses handed to
Literally.
them,
Yeah,
Spider-Man
they clearly
tries
know
to
that
put a
this
stop to
Halloween
it,
costume
and
is a
God-
military grade fucking. Sure.
I mean, I would have made. I actually did make an argument for this in my Spider-Man 1 video that the reason why they didn't automatically open fire is because there's a lot of people around him and they don't want to miss and accidentally tag someone behind him, which is
Oh,
why
yeah,
they
that's fair.
which is why they threaten him first. They don't want to
How
like
the fuck
accidentally
do they
hit
get
someone
into
else.
melee range though?
He's
Run.
walking
They
towards
run at him.
them.
Yeah,
Half of them just run at him.
Yeah, he's walking towards them. I don't know why they don't keep their distance. That's still like a bad trope.
Yeah.
But again, in a movie that I critiqued for over 2 hours, I still
Wait,
made a defense
policemen
for
have
the scene.
tasers. Use those if you don't want to injure civilians.
It's lasers, pepper spray, batons, something.
Lasers.
I said tasers.
Laser beam.
Lasers. They have lasers.
Frickin' taser beam.
Peeper
Peepo.
spray. Peepo spray.
Peepo spray.
People, people, everybody, people.
Street lights. People.
We're gonna get a copyright strike for Peepo.
Damn, this is such an anime moment.
This is such an anime moment.
Here's some unrelated footage of Dragon Ball.
This is such an anime moment.
Catching a fist is not an anime thing. That was not directed nearly the same way as that scene. Bit of a stretch.
It's not
mate.
drawn out so much. It's a fucking hit it and
There
you
probably
miss
is
it
some
moment.
anime influence in Raimi's Spider-Man trilogy, but
I'd
this
say
ain't
that
it.
there's influence mostly from like other action movies and Raimi's own works. I wouldn't say that
Kung
there's
Fu.
I wouldn't say that there's anime influence. At most, I'd push it to say that there's maybe a little bit of Matrix influence, and Matrix is inspired by a few animes, but that's as far as I'd be willing to go with
Not
it.
in Spider-Man 1, but maybe the later ones.
Yeah.
What is with this movie talking up these awesome lines?
I didn't realize
More
the
to
pole
point,
fucking
this
just
is the first
crashes
time
down
since
on that
Peter
guy's
acquired his
head. That's
powers
great.
That he's come across a
Look.
match for his strength. And he, for the first time since becoming Spider-Man, has to retreat. Goblin chases him
Lucky.
down using the guns and missiles on his glider, and Spider-Man narrowly escapes up onto the large parade balloons above them. But before the two can re-engage with each other, Spider-Man can hear Mary Jane screaming in the distance, and so goes to try and save her, but Goblin intercepts him, crashes him into Oscorp Tower, but Spider-Man manages to slip away, blind Goblin, and sabotage
I
his
have
glider.
eyes, motherfucker. I
Goblin
can
now
see
has
the
to retreat
scene.
and utters a line as true to comic book writing as it could ever be.
Okay.
Sure, I
Okay,
guess.
Sure.
I don't read these
Yeah.
stupid fucking books, so I can't disprove this, and I don't care to, so...
In any other
doesn't
movie,
mean
it would
anything.
sound ridiculous, but this felt organic
movie's a masterpiece,
because this
by the way.
entire movie, despite its realistic elements, has been true to its cheesy comic book origins. In other words, they put the work in to make sure this dialogue and line delivery works well. And it paid off. Anyway,
Really?
Mary Jane falls,
They wrote a
Spider-Man
script?
dives after her, uttering the line...
No way.
Effort
Okay,
was put
before I
into this
get some-
movie?
Oh no, he's
way.
gonna do this.
Peter just
He's gonna do this again. He's gonna go, well, look at these stupid people who thought that Mary Jane would know that it's Peter because he said
I know,
Mary
it's
Jane.
so predictable.
And he's gonna put the Yu-Gi-Oh thing on screen again, isn't he?
Oh my god, no.
I hope so. Bring back Yu-Gi-Oh!
No.
I've depicted you as the Yu-Gi-Oh, Yugi.
Predicted as you as the Yu-Gi-Oh!
You've activated my trap card. I have depicted you as the Yu-Gi-Oh!
Damn, you really did him dirty.
No, impossible.
I have to go now. I statue you for your suffering.
I statue you too, sophistic autistic. Farewell.
Thank you
Thank you
for
for
stopping
coming.
by. I hope we get to see you again next week when we finish this video.
Or it finishes us.
Before it finishes us, yes. But yeah, bye.
We'll meet again, sophistic autistic.
Straight out of comic book writing. Perfection.
Line for line.
But Peter just blew his cover by calling her Mary Jane. No, he did not. How, you might wonder? Well,
Fuck no!
See? The clockwork.
Oh god. Oh.
I can pull the scene up right now and give you 2 instances of him yelling out her name in the scene. One of those being when he jumps down to go, "Hold on, Mary Jane." Unless, of course, it's an inside voice and he didn't actually yell it, and the only way for us to know that he understands that this is Mary Jane is for him to, like, speak it in his mind. Maybe that's the reason. He doesn't actually yell it out, he's just speaking really loudly in his head.
The movie's not done that with anything else as far as
Shut
I
up,
can remember.
Darth! I'm trying to make an argument, and you're making it worse!
Your argument stinks!
Don't be like this, okay? It's a comic book trope, therefore good. It's fine.
True. True, he's got a point.
Yeah.
Well,
No,
for
wait,
those of
he's
us
got
with
a point.
common sense and anyone with a working set of eyes and ears,
Oh
they
my god.
I find
Just
it
has
really
to
ironic to
insult
say
them every time.
It's ironic for him to say this because of his entire thing of just recapping the movie and then playing the audio and the footage directly afterward to be like, "Look guys, I was telling you the truth because this actually did happen. See, I'm not making it up." It's like, yeah, we know, we watched the movie, we have functioning ears and eyes, so stop doing that, please. Stop drawing
And
out
then
your movie
Green
for 3
Goblin
hours.
arrives. My example of that is Green Goblin arriving.
He does do that.
And that is why Spider-Man 1 is a masterpiece.
Yeah.
They know exactly why. Because Mary Jane didn't hear it. The very fact that she has no reaction
He didn't yell it out because Mary Jane didn't. What the?
to it should be enough of a hint for you, short of writing it on a baseball bat and cracking you over the skull with it. At
Oh my
most,
god.
all she could hear
Fucking
was
calm
the sound
down.
of Spider-Man's voice, but not the specifics of what he was saying. Because all of this is happening while bombs are going off, while there's panda...
Ooh, DB's also leaving the chat. Thank you very much for coming by,
you, DB.
DB. I'm the only one that remains in chat. Thank you, Mr. Introverted Robot. We appreciate your stamina.
Oh,
Shandy
Enemy
is
is here.
so mean for making fun of a YouTuber that makes content directed towards people with special needs. Yeah,
never
honestly, he should
never seen it
rebrand his
that
channel
way.
to that.
I haven't thought of it that way. I do apologize sincerely for my
Yes, that's what
Genuinely,
Anomaly
there's some
really
value to
means.
be had there.
Green Goblin may
Green
have
Goblin
arrived
may have
once.
arrived once, but he came twice.
You shared the nut.
Thank
Oh, that's
you,
what we forgot
Snyder
to
Man.
fucking do at the start of this.
Thanks,
oh, goddammit.
Mr. Breast.
We'll repair that
We'll retcon
inconvenience
that.
at the we'll retcon it. I'll edit it in.
Ammonium in the streets and sirens blazing.
Ammonium
while
in the
Mary
streets?
Jane
Oh,
herself is
pandemonium.
screaming her lungs out.
There's
and
ammonium in the
while she's
air.
falling. So there's no chance she accurately heard him call her name out.
A panda stands between you and your destiny. What? Prepare yourself for a hot...
Also,
pretty
before
funny.
you say, well, what about when they're hanging off the bridge and Spider-Man calls her Mary Jane? Yeah, that's after the hospital scene where Peter tells Mary Jane that he
It's
spoke to
okay
Spider-Man
if she
about
hears
her.
him call Mary Jane. That doesn't immediately link him to Peter Parker. Calm down. It's not. You don't have to get so defensive about this point. You can take the L, and it won't make a difference.
Yeah. Especially since you're already on the fence about this movie being campy. You can just chalk this down to it's just campy fun, even if, you did make the argument that she would link this back to Peter. It doesn't matter because the movie's
I mean,
not
it
trying
makes
to take
sense
itself too
Peter would
seriously.
slip, and it makes sense that Mary Jane would hear that and not immediately assume that he's Peter Parker. But with everything that stacks up later, in that moment in the graveyard, would have that moment of like, wait a second. That's fine.
I'm Peter
It's
Parker.
intention-
I'm Peter Parker. No, I'm Peter Parker. No, I'm Peter Parker.
That's the pointing scene, the graveyard.
There are too many cobras.
So it wouldn't make a
so many
difference.
cobras.
In her eyes, Spider-Man knows who she is because of Peter. Anyway, now that that's been squashed, Spider-Man at the last possible moment saves Mary Jane from the fall,
Pulped.
and he swings off with her to
Obliterated.
the applause of the entire crowd for his
that'll
action.
be-
As
Scoined.
Danny Elfman's enchanting score plays in the
Gascoigned.
background. But I'm sure there's a whole bunch of straw-grasping morons out there
Father
who
Gascoigne.
will ignore all that awasomeness. Because, oh look,
You'll
Mary
be one
Jane's
of them
hair is
sooner
very
or
subtly
later.
blowing the wrong way. as she's swinging with Spider-Man. The scene is totally...
Oh no, he's making fun of the Anomaly argument. How brave.
Yeah, this is a great Anomaly impression.
Wait, I meant to say cosmonaut. Fuck. Same thing.
Anomaly.
Anomaly.
ruined. No. The scene is awesome.
I
The music
wonder
is
if
beautiful.
Anomaly likes
Get
well done
over it.
steak
Peter
would be
drops Mary
based
Jane
if
off on one
so.
of New York's most...
Of course Wicker Man would fucking say that to daft
Fucking
cunt.
schizo posting in Nut House.
To be fair, name a more appropriate place. You can't.
It's true. This
most
is a
famous
house of
rooftops.
nuts.
And I'm sure the locals in the comment section can tell us ignorant folk
The
what it's
locals.
called. And this rooftop garden has been used in other awesome Marvel superhero productions as well.
Okay.
Yes, we love you,
And
Daredevil. Anyway, Spider-Man briefly gives Mary Jane one of his quippy remarks, but she stops him from leaving to ask who he is. She gets a tiny hint when Spider-Man subtly changes his voice, ridding it of all its confidence and swag, and telling her in Peter's shy, somber voice that she knows who he is. But before she gets too suspicious, he once again wisely backtracks.
Didn't you argue that she wouldn't be suspicious because she didn't hear him fucking yelling out her name? What? Now you're like, oh, she's actually getting suspicious because she can hear the shyness and the lack of confidence in his...
just harpooned his later points.
I
I like
the-
all types of steaks, even the bad ones.
I like the idea that Peter's face in this frame is just really flat, like he got hit in the face by a door.
Probably did.
Look at him.
Beats taking the subway.
Wait! Who are you?
You know who I am.
I do.
Your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man.
Did he vocode that, or did he like change the pitch of that? That
No,
not.
the audio quality is weirdly compressed.
Oh, okay, is that why? I was wondering because it sounded really weird.
Now you'll notice that after Spider-Man saves her,
There's a lot of woohoo in this movie. A lot more than the second one.
Wacky woohoo Spider-Man.
But like I said before, at this point, her character is completely missing what's most important about
He's completely
Spider-Man.
missing.
That it doesn't matter who he is. The point is that he's out there saving people like her. She later...
Okay, so I just reread Introverted Robot's comments. I like all types of steaks, even the bad ones. I thought he meant like...
said it out aloud.
No, I reread it because I thought he meant like the food. Like, I like all types of steaks. Well done, medium
Maybe
rare.
they did
and
both.
He did.
But he said steaks as in like steaks in movies, as in like...
Yeah.
It's both.
Double steak tundra.
comes to this realization when she and Spider-Man have that very famous upside-down kiss in the rain, which I'll get to, but for now, she's so excited and intrigued by the mystery man who saved her life, all she can think about is who he is, even practically orgasming about him on the phone to Harry.
Okay,
Stop
calm
it,
down.
please. Oh, Lord.
Who's supposed to be her boyfriend, remember? But then again, Mary Jane wasn't exactly
Sort of,
thrilled
but
with
not
Harry,
really,
since
let's be
he
honest.
was way more focused on impressing his father than he was on her.
I want to hear
And
Green
then
Goblin
she fucking
woo.
comes talking to Harry.
Whoa!
We'll meet again, Spider-Man! Woo!
And then I'll woo-hoo you all day.
Woohoo, Spider-Man. Woohoo.
Woohoo,
Spider-Man.
Woo-hoo.
Harry comes clean to Peter about Mary Jane, and Peter actually admits that it is his fault for not making a move on MJ sooner. But like I said, for other reasons,
He's a backstabbing
well,
cunt.
Harry still very blatantly stabbed him in the back. Not cool, dude. Not cool. Anyway,
I was
Peter reflects on
joking.
just what the hell happened at the festival, and just who is the masked green hover glider that he encountered, and when
The
will she
masked
strike
green
again?
hover glider.
Spider-Man
Which
when
we
you
cut
say
to
that.
Norman Osborn's penthouse. The man's enjoying a nice scotch on the rocks or some rich man's alcoholic drink, and he starts
Oh
hearing a
yes,
very
Scotch
familiar
on the
voice.
Rocks, very rich.
I mean, it's literally titled Whiskey on the Bottle. So.
It's fucking Maker's Mark.
Norman
How do you
looks
not know
really
that?
out and scared, wondering who
It's a
or
very
what
common
this
kind of
voice
whiskey.
is, but the voice tells him to quit acting like he doesn't know.
White man's
Downplay
burden,
the
Spider-Man.
innocent with me. You've known all along.
Obviously, Norman Osborn has
I want a
gone
woohoo
mad.
goblin.
We know this by now, but
No,
what we don't
get the
know
fuck
is
away from
how
me.
aware Norman
Woohoo,
Osborn
Spider-Man.
is of his actions.
I'll rip
It was
your
left
cock
somewhat
off.
ambiguous up till this point, but this scene sheds a whole new light
Oh
on
wait, no,
his
that'll just excite him.
insanity.
Fuck.
But before I get into that, another side point. See, Sam Raimi's Green Goblin has been criticized largely for the design of his helmet as opposed to the green mask and purple hood that he wears.
Isn't it like universally
He
loved
looks
by this point?
fucking stupid in the animated series. I'm glad he doesn't look like that.
No, but like, hasn't it like flipped around now where people just love this design now because it's nostalgic?
I think they were happy when it came back in Ho-Way Gnome, so yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I like the redesign that they went for because he's more like fucked up looking with like a purple robe instead of just the normal outfit. But even then, when people saw at least in my theaters, when people saw the new Goblin or the old Goblin again, they're
New
like,
old
"Oh
Goblin."
fuck yeah, he's back! There's my boy." So, yeah, I mean, people like it.
I
people
like
don't
that he
like
looks
it.
like a
Who
Power
cares?
Ranger villain. Yeah, it fits the tone of the Raimi
Yeah.
movies, honestly.
You've got a guy in a skin-tight fucking spandex Spider-Man suit fighting a guy in a skin-tight Power Ranger spandex suit. It fits.
Yep.
I mean, I will say that the abs on his suit look far better than the abs on the Batman suits from the fucking Tim Burton movies, so... Yeah.
Got a credit card?
Brownie points.
Those aren't the Tim Burton ones.
In both the source material and the animated series. Now, personally, I never had a problem with the suit, or the helmet for that matter, from a design point of view. Sam Raimi wanted things to be somewhat realistic and practical for the character, and Green Goblin having a militarized green flight suit designed to handle extreme G-force and potentially having to absorb crash damage is very practical indeed.
I think in some ways the Green Goblin was more challenging to somehow
some
have
cool
it
fucking
reference
art.
and relate to Norman Osborn and what he's doing. So because he's a scientist and he's developed the glider, and maybe the suit had to be a little more high-tech so that it had some relationship to the glider.
We felt that the Goblin's outfit could have been designed as a weapon of war, a battle suit. So we could justify the green, we could justify the armor plating, and like ancient weapons of war, we felt that it may have a mask, something frightening to strike terror into the hearts of the enemy.
I thought that the thing we had to retain about the Green Goblin was that kind of screaming face. And it seemed to me important that whatever we did with the rest of the outfit, we had to somehow retain this maniacal scream.
But the fact that Norman designed a goblin-like helmet for himself, I found this to be incredibly bizarre. But see, there's a nice visual detail in his penthouse that clues
he
you
makes
into one of
masks.
his more subtle character traits.
saw.
And that is that Norman Osborn has a fascination with tribal masks, and thus designed himself a scary...
This sounds like a point Sherp would make.
Yeah, that's not subtle at all. There's literally
It's definitely
footage
not
that you're
subtle.
showing right now of him zooming in on these masks.
Might be easy to forget, but you would have seen this movie recently, so...
I mean, I remember this scene specifically because of the fucking bongo drums that start playing. Ba-da-dum, ba-da-ba-dum, ba-da-dum, ba-da-dum,
Halo
ja.
1.
Scary looking helmet which resembles that of a goblin.
I meant to say
And
something
when I picked
after
up
that,
on this
but
while
that
watching
conveyed
the
the point.
commentary, I thought it was brilliant because it answered a question I'd had in my mind about the movie for about 20 years now.
You can no longer make fun of Cosmonaut for doing the exact same
Oh
fucking
my
thing.
God,
It's one of
Anomaly.
your favorite films! The fuck do you mean?
Just writes itself, I swear to God.
Oh god.
I remember if you look in this room, you'll see a wide variety of masks that Karen O'Hara, our set decorator, went to great pains.
Oh, I thought that was you making fun of
to get.
Anomaly,
Some of them are
Uvu.
quite valuable, and they're all quite
It is.
beautiful. They did a really great job, just with the background stuff of telling the story of his love of masks and tribal
Uvu
masks.
sent his commentary
As
to
for the missing purple
Anomaly to
cloak,
help him out, and Anomaly's
Sam
like, "Oh
Raimi
wow,
made
this is
sure
really
to
good. I'm gonna put it in my
reference
video."
later when Goblin ambushes Spider-Man in the burning building trap he set for him. But the last criticism against Green Goblin's look that I've heard at least is that he looks too much like a Power Ranger. And at first, I was inclined to agree, but that was until I saw Razorfist's video on the first Daredevil season
You know,
on
he doesn't
Netflix,
look like a
and
Power
he
Ranger,
brings
he
up
looks
an
like a Power
excellent
Ranger
point
villain.
about this.
And can I just say
that I don't get the hate for the Daredevil suit. Actually, scratch that, I do, because there was never once an adaptation of a superhero on TV or on film where belly-aching bitches have been adequately satisfied with the outfit. Just admit it out loud. For fuck's sake, Spider-Man's outfit is basically copied and pasted from the comics, and as we all remember, back in 2002, people still fucking complained en masse. Spider-Man is ribbed for her pleasure. What's with the jersey fabric? I don't know, his balls sweat. It looks like fucking Spider-Man. Granted, this show has taken slightly more artistic license than Spider-Man, but I think it's perfectly fine. And more to the point, there's no reason to believe it won't visually evolve as Season 2 progresses. And could we declare a moratorium on the fucking Power Ranger comparisons for the foreseeable future? Let's establish this one fact in crystal clear fucking English, please. Green Goblin doesn't look like a Power Ranger. The Power Rangers look like superheroes, because that's exactly what...
What the fuck?
Huh?
That
He doesn't
point
look like
makes
a
no...
Power Ranger. He looks like a Power Ranger villain.
That point makes no fucking sense. He doesn't look like a Power Ranger because the Power Rangers look like superheroes and Goblin's a villain. What?
Gotta love Japanese Spider-Man at the front there with the weird, like, mask with the, like, the slanted eyes and the fold-away mouth.
What tokusatsu is ripping the fuck off. Don't blame Marvel for your narrow Nihongo-philic frame of reference.
On top of that, Sam Raimi did intend for a more faithful adaptation of the Green Goblin's appearance.
Fuck this video. I want to go watch the Razor Fist video. That sounded funny. The fuck is this? Oh, God.
But unfortunately for
Only
some
14
comic
more
book
minutes.
fans, he was limited by the technology of the time. And Raimi and his production team couldn't get the original Green Goblin design to convincingly work. In addition to the limits of technology, one of the other reasons the original Green Goblin mask was scrapped is because the production team was worried that it would traumatize the younger audience. Honestly, I'm surprised Raimi got away with as much as he did with this movie's maturity level in the final cut. But Sony wanted this to be a mass appeal movie, and yeah, if you look at the early test footage for the original mask, it's not hard to see why it was scrapped.
It's terrifying.
Personally, I'm grateful it didn't happen. Sure, Green Goblin doesn't exactly resemble the comic or animated series for that
You
matter,
wouldn't have been able to see
but
much
he's
of
still
Willem
one
Dafoe's
cool,
performance
scary-looking,
as well.
badass motherfucker who's still recognized.
You guys remember when he complained about this video getting demonetized?
Yeah.
I don't think he does.
What?
Why the hell would you put this video up for monetization, complain about it getting demonetized, and then not fix the parts where you call Guy a scary looking motherfucker several times in your video?
I mean, suggesting that the people who disagree with him needing to be beat with baseball bats, I think would
get it there
be
too,
a better
yeah.
candidate. I don't think you get demonetized if you swear, full stop. I don't know how the fuck the
Neither
standards
do
work.
I know that there have been some cases where people get demonetized for using one usage of the word fuck or motherfucker or whatever, and then some cases where it's like, oh, I said it like 10 times and I didn't get demonetized, so I guess it's just inconsistent or just
say broom instead.
The mother broomer. Yeah.
Recognizable as the
Okay,
Green Goblin.
Broomer.
And that's enough. And that's
Mother
all it ever
Broomer.
needed to be.
Then
Back
why
to
did
the
you
scene
spend
in
5
question,
minutes on
Norman
it?
finally recognizes where the voice is coming from as he
You
eyes
dork.
himself in the mirror, and thus we get one of the most memorable scenes and best
want
acting
whiskey now.
performances by Willem Dafoe, as he switches between both his identities off and on again and again like he's hitting a light switch, and it's absolutely glorious.
The board members. You killed them.
We killed them.
We?
Remember your little accident in the laboratory?
Performance enhancers.
Bingo.
As the conversation continues, it's made quite clear that Norman was
Bingo.
somewhat aware of what was happening, but his mind was hazy on the details. It's difficult to say at this point where exactly his level of awareness starts and ends, but what's being made clear is now that the personalities are consciously communicating with each other, they are growing closer and closer to constantly overlapping. This is also quite faithful to the animated series, as it's a clear indication that Norman's madness is getting worse.
Osborn, aren't you finished yet? Almost. Be patient. I can't guarantee its stability.
Spare me your warnings, Osborn. Turn it on.
What about Spider-Man? He knows about our
God, that
connection.
hair.
Indeed,
God,
Spider-Man is
still
the
looks like
only
so
man
much fun.
on Earth who knows that the Green Goblin and Norman Osborn are allies.
Also, remember when I said Norman's driving force for not letting Oscorp fail was driven by his regret for how he sacrificed his relationship with Harry? And I called it half of his reasoning for doing so. Well, this is the other half. The Green Goblin alter ego is essentially Norman Osborn unhinged and acting on his basic instincts and most innate character traits.
What do you want? To say what you won't. To do what you can't. To remove those in your way.
And so Goblin revealed why he did the things he did, and it was to fuel Norman's ambition and his power-hungry nature, a key character trait of his.
40,000 years of evolution and we barely even tapped the vastness of human potential.
Yeah, so stop trying to say he's a good man and it was the goblin that made him bad.
Yeah, this is what I said early on, and it's why I don't really agree with the idea that he did this for Harry's sake. Norman's always just been a dude who looked after himself and wanted to further his own public image. And a big reason for why he doesn't approve of Harry and his ongoing fuck-ups is because it's drawing negative attention towards the Osborn name as a whole. It's why one of the first things he says to Harry is, "Don't be ashamed of who you are being an Osborn." And it's the reason why he wants Harry to do so well at school so that he can carry on the Osborn legacy. I mean, he obviously does care about Harry by the end of the movie, but it seemed to me like something that he just realized after a while, not something that was genuinely at like the forefront of his mind.
Go and progenate the Osborn seed.
Broomer fast. But yeah.
Broom.
The Goblin highlights exactly the reason why Norman does this stuff in the first place. It's to further his own ambition.
I was thinking that Anomaly might give an intelligent reason as to why he became evil, but he states the obvious instead. Yeah, unfortunately.
To be fair, it would probably be kind of hard to give an intelligent reason for why he does it, because the movie's kind of simple and it's just playing to its strengths. It's not trying to be too deep. So if you gave a deep answer, I would kind of just be like, whoa, you're putting a little bit too much thought into this, buddy. But that's me, and I'm a fucking idiot with the amount of shit that I say in my videos, so who cares?
Creation. Bringing you what you've always wanted. Power beyond your wildest dreams, and it's only the beginning.
The scene closes out with Goblin revealing his intentions for the only one who can stop them, and what plans he has for Spider-Man. And now we cut back to the Daily Bugle for more awesome J. Jonah Jameson, who's gloating about his journalistic genius for dubbing the green terrorist weirdo on the glider as the Green Goblin.
Call the patent office, copyright the name Green Goblin. I want a corner every time somebody says it.
How about green meaning?
Jameson basically tells Peter to get lost when he wouldn't let up about Spider-Man saving New York from the Green Goblin and not helping him terrorize it. But moments later, the Daily Bugle is attacked by none other than the Green Goblin himself.
I'm disappointed by the fact that he didn't mention Green Goblin tossing the cigar back up into the window as like the first surprise.
Funny.
It is pretty funny. And he didn't mention it. Sag.
Speak of the devil!
And he's looking for one of Spider-Man's photographers. You'll notice I said one of Spider-Man's photographers. Since, and this will come up later, it's exhibited in this very movie that Peter isn't the only one who takes Spider-Man's pictures.
Peter's name is officially attached to most of the pictures of Spider-Man in this movie.
The fuck is that image?
Green Goblin tossing Spider-Man off of the glider.
It just looks really weird.
I think it's because it's in black and white, so you can't really make out all the details, but
Green Goblin looks like a cartoon ghost.
He's got no
and
leggies.
And the area they're in looks like a model. It's very strange.
Yeah. It do be kind of weird, though.
He
Green
just
Goblin
so happens to
Attacker
be the one
City.
who gets the best
Attacker
shots of
with rock?
Spider-Man, which is why Jameson uses them, but that's not public knowledge as of yet. And that's why Goblin has to interrogate Jameson. But surprisingly enough,
It's not public knowledge yet. It's in every newspaper, or at least the ones after this attack that are confirmed that Peter's name is actually listed as the photographer. And I know this because I pulled up the prop.
Enough, especially on my first viewing, we actually get to know a hell of a lot more about J. Jonah Jameson's character in this scene, who, as previously mentioned, instantly made a fan favorite first impression thanks to J.K. Simmons. While Peter is defending what Spider-Man did at the Unity Day festival, he accuses Jameson of slander, and this devious, lovable bastard gives our hero a 101 crash course in journalism.
Spider-Man wasn't attacking the city. He was trying to save it. That's slander.
It is not. I resent that. Slander is spoken. In print, it's libel.
This shows that despite Jameson being an arse, at least he's a professional who takes journalism seriously, and he's not some crooked or corrupt media official.
What? What a weird reading of that line. He's been a pedantic asshole. How does that show he's a professional?
You should rather use the thing where he doesn't give up the person who's taking the photos. That would be that would be in service of your point.
Yep.
This isn't. I don't know what this is.
Is later reinforced in Spider-Man 3. That's for all that movie's fault. I can at least give credit to that film for staying true to Jameson's character.
Pack your things. Get out of my building.
I was just...
You're fired!
You know we're gonna have to print a retraction now.
I haven't printed a retraction in 20 years!
Now, that all being said, after Goblin blasts into his office and hoists Jameson up by the throat, he's essentially at Goblin's mercy and is about to die if he doesn't give up his source for Spider-Man's photographs. To have a chance at living, he has to give up Peter to this maniac. This greedy publicity whore just has to give him the name of some freelance
calm
photographer,
down.
some college student fresh out of high school who means nothing to him. And despite that, Jameson actually holds his tongue.
Jameson, you slime! Who's the photographer who takes the pictures of Spider-Man?
I don't know who he is. His stuff comes in the mail.
You're lying!
I swear. I don't know who he is.
You are useless.
The dude is essentially staring death in the face and just straight up refuses to give Peter up right in that moment. This goes beyond simple professionalism as a journalist to not give up his sources. You want to talk about heroism? This was an act of heroism. And it shows the audience that Jameson, despite being a cheap, greedy asshole who's head of a newspaper outlet just looking to sell a story, despite that, Jameson wasn't a heartless bastard.
You see, in there...
What? Why?
He's copying a fucking Facebook meme. And I know this because I've seen this meme several fucking times. This is all this is. It's a fucking Facebook meme. Why?
Last moments. People show you who they really are.
Anyway, seconds later, Spider-Man shows up, and Jameson immediately accuses Spider-Man of being involved with Goblin, but he's silenced by a web to the face. Not exactly the nicest way to repay Jameson for saving your life there, Spidey, but in addition to that, Tobey Maguire shows off...
Not the nicest way to treat the person who saved your life, Spidey, but also, he's the guy that's been lambasting you in the newspaper now for days, if not weeks, and treating you like public enemy number one. I wonder why Spider-Man might have a grudge.
Spider-Man's trademark personality and utters one of his famous quippy lines.
Hey kiddo, let mom and dad talk for a minute, will ya?
And finally, this allows me to address the second criticism against Sam Raimi's Spider-Man and Tobey.
Has he made a point that actually points to the film being a masterpiece yet? No. Has he, guys? Has anyone here found anything worthwhile from this person?
It's better than every other Spider-Man because he writhed on the floor for a bit. That's about it.
True.
Maguire. Aside from the organic web shooters, the criticism is that Tobey is a fine enough Peter Parker but a subpar version of Spider-Man because he doesn't closely resemble the character enough from the comics. Largely due, once again,
I have to see
the
Mary
organic
Jane
web
slip on
shooters,
piss
which we've
one
already
more goddamn
discussed,
time.
but also due to the fact that the Spider-Man character
I'm gonna
that
slip
Tobey is
on piss.
portraying is quite reserved with his sense of humor and remarks when he's face to face with the bad guys. And in response to that, in
Drop
regards
my
to
goddamn
Tobey Maguire's
Slurpee.
portrayal of Spider-Man, you know
On
what
the
I have
floor.
to say to that? Are you fucking kidding me? Seriously? In this movie, Spider-Man, for the most part anyway,
He
when
drops
he's
his
face-to-face
Slurpee on
with
the
the bad
floor.
guy,
What can I
he's
say?
always cracking jokes or cracking comic book-like insults.
What are you doing up there?
Staying away from you. It's a cute outfit. Did your husband give it to you?
Cheese! Hold
I surrender.
Jeez.
Set him down.
Spider-Man saying, "Oh boy," supposed
Oh
to be.
boy! One of these is not like the other.
Oh boy.
And you can see characters saying "oh boy" is actually a famous comic trope that goes down to Spider-Man issue 2.8.
You just start playing a compilation of Morty saying, "Oh boy, oh geez."
Oh
from fucking Rick
boy.
and Morty. This is a subtle reference to Morty's
To
origins
Rick
in
Jason
Spider-Man
Mortimer.
303.
Tough guy. Hey, kiddo, let mom and dad talk for a minute, will ya?
I'll be here when you get back.
Not coming back, Chief. It's you who...
Oh my god. That.
Two of these are not like the others.
Who's out, Gobby? Out of your mind.
Wrong answer.
Oh, great.
The only time he doesn't do that is when things get the most serious. Admittedly, this is a bit toned back in Spider-Man.
It's
Looks
back,
like
guys.
we found a girl for you.
Oh lord. 1 second, chat. We just gotta get rid of the bots. It's being.
Oh shit, 69 mega.
Don't get rid of introverted robot.
Remove.
No, she's mine.
We're gonna put the fucking thing in. I almost made it a fucking moderator. That would have been funny.
Oh god. Backslabbed.
And we're back.
2, due to the fact that A, Spider-Man is absent from a relatively large portion of the
A,
movie,
Spider-Man?
and B, that film was predominantly a much deeper character study into Peter Parker, not Spider-Man. And even then, there were instances of Spidey's sense of humor. Several, in fact.
Here's your change.
What's he actually responding to?
You're getting on
I
my
don't know.
nerves.
I have an
People
He's
saying
responding-
that he's not funny.
Yeah. He's responding
Cosmonaut said the
to-
opposite. He said that he did too many quips. So I don't know.
Oh
I
yeah,
think-
that's true. He did.
God, quip machines can be so fucking obnoxious. I think Raimi Spider-Man is actually a really good balance of serious and quippy.
Yep.
I don't really know where you would fit more quips in, to be honest. Like, where would imagine he
Without it
quips
being
as Uncle Ben
horrifically
dies.
obnoxious.
It's like
Uncle Ben, you
Holland
gone
is
stone
too quippy
cold.
for my tastes. Oh god, stop. Looks like you've been backslabbed.
Damn.
Back for that. Not anymore.
And this was even more prevalent in Spider-Man 3.
Jig's up, pal.
I don't want to hurt you.
I guess you haven't heard. I'm the sheriff around these parts.
Okay.
Fact of the matter is,
Okay.
Okay.
It's not a quip, but okay.
Understood
Sure, why
why
not?
Peter wasn't immediately as openly humorous whilst taking on his Spider-Man persona, because he was constantly growing into it. So personally, I didn't mind that he wasn't constantly quipping his ass off like he does in comics or the animated series for that matter. But Raimi made sure to include a modest amount of it without it feeling forced and out of place, while still bearing resemblance to the source material. So there you go. Moving on, Goblin decides to kidnap
Thanks.
Spidey, and so he gasses him out with
Zooey,
a sleeper
mama.
agent. Goblin catches Spider-Man after he falls several
Ooh-wee.
stories and kidnaps him to a rooftop where he can converse with him in a civilized
Kidnaps him
manner,
to a
or as
rooftop.
civilized as you could expect from the Green Goblin. I also love how it's implied how much he respects Spider-Man by the fact that while he's at
I love how it's implied how much he respects Spider-Man. Then you play the scene of "You're an amazing creature, Spider-Man. You and I are not so different." Wow, I wonder what he could be implying with that statement, guys.
You know, Spider-Man, I respect you.
You and I are so fucking different.
I
Goblin's
respect
mercy,
you, but I don't
Goblin
respect my
doesn't
son.
actually even attempt to try and remove Spider-Man's mask.
Why
What?
are you playing this fucking scene?
What the fuck?
Is this a scene where a villain talks to Daredevil while he's constrained?
Yeah, Punisher is talking to Daredevil. It's actually a really good scene, but I don't know why the
Punisher's
fuck
in
you're
this.
using this.
Morning, sunshine.
Wait, is that Pablo
the way you
Escobar?
get out of here,
I mean,
the way you
Shriba?
walk free is if I want you to.
It's
Know that.
Treebeard from
Go ahead,
Lord of the
take my
Rings.
mask off.
Wait, is
Don't give a
it?
shit about who you are.
You're an amazing creature,
Why do I trust
Spider-Man.
anything
You
you
and
say?
I are not so
Good question.
I'm not like you. You're a murderer.
What kind of name is the devil of Hell's Kitchen anyway? I mean, really?
I didn't ask for that name.
I'm sorry. I see you running from.
I don't do this to hurt people.
Yeah, so what is that? Just a job perk?
I don't kill anyone.
Is that why you think you're better than me?
No.
Is that why you think you're a big hero?
It doesn't matter what I think or what I am.
Well, to each his own. I
It's not
chose my
comparable
path.
at
You
all.
chose the way of the hero.
Why?
Goblin
the
seems to
fuck?
be
so
fascinated by the
different.
idea of Spider-Man, but he doesn't.
Not just that, but Punisher brings up several good points that like directly contradicts Mad's. I mean, fuck, I
Yeah,
almost-
Goblin does not have a point in this scene,
No, he's just a goofy goofball.
which is part of my criticism of his character as a villain.
Yeah, he's
Is
got
that
no
I
real
wish he had a
goals or
more
ambitions.
coherent ideology that conflicted with Peter Ponkla's and maybe point out some hypocrisies in Peter Ponkla's life.
Peepo's sad.
Doesn't believe in what Spider-Man is doing, and so he makes his goal abundantly clear. That Goblin thinks being a hero is pointless for a myriad of different reasons, and so he wants to corrupt Spider-Man to show him the error of his ways and bring him down to his level. Hell, Goblin even gives him the classic "join me villain" speech. Sure, it's a bit of a cliche, but it's really well done. But I'll tell you one thing about Goblin's speech
No.
that was definitely not cliche, especially at the time of this film's release.
But the one thing they love more than a hero is to see a hero fail, fall, die trying. In spite of everything you've done for them, eventually they will hate you. Why bother?
Sound familiar?
You either die a hero, or you live long enough to see yourself become the villain.
In your face, Dark Knight. After Green
What the
Goblin
fuck
leaves
is
Spider-Man
wrong
on the
with
roof
you?
so he can contemplate his decision, we get to see exactly what the Green Goblin was warning him about. Whether or not Spider-Man agrees with his philosophy is irrelevant, because the fact of the matter is, Green Goblin is right. And that's what makes the speech so compelling and endlessly...
What?
News with an attitude.
There's like two people in this movie who don't like Spider-Man. One of those being J.J. Jameson, and that fucking random bald guy was like, he stinks and I don't like him. Everyone else is super chill with Spider-Man and actively like, oh yeah, he's
That's
pretty
Jim
cool. He saved my
Norton.
life. The fuck do you mean? There's no evidence to support that the people actually want Spider-Man to fuck off. In fact, the movie implies the exact fucking opposite, especially at the end when he's saving like an entire barge of kids.
Wait, what about this though? Citizens call for Wallcrawler's arrest.
This is from the Daily Bugle. I don't trust a single word this man prints.
That is true.
rewatchable. But Goblin's philosophy is not without its own flaws, as we
Peter
come to see
does,
later in the
so,
movie.
I don't know.
And so we see the aftermath of the Bugle attack as now J. Jonah Jameson publishes a story where he implicates Spider-Man as an accomplice in the Bugle's attack. And once more, people will believe him because A, he was the one who was attacked, and B, a lie usually makes it halfway around the world before the truth comes out, as the saying goes. Though that's not to say that Jameson was lying. He is a man of principle when it comes to journalism, but given his distaste for Spider-Man...
Because he knows the
And
difference
yet
between
for-
libel
oh
and
my God.
slander. Jesus Christ.
I could counter this so easily just by using your own fucking references. Just play Spider-Man 2 and him being like, there's a food scare poisoning the city, and then people... and well, what's the name of the guy that works for him? Sam Raimi's brother? I
Bobby
think-
Robinson.
Ted
Toby?
Raimi.
Ted Raimi, yeah. Ted Raimi's character is like, some food got poisoned, and then Jameson's like, I'm feeling a little nauseous. Yeah. He purposely spreads misinformation so he can get a tagline in his newspaper. He's not above lying.
He's not a source of journalistic integrity, that's for sure.
At least not in the second movie.
Yeah.
So...
and
Not
the
on the
way the
first
events
either.
transpired, it wouldn't be hard for...
Well, I mean, yeah, not in the first either, because directly after the Daily Bugle gets attacked, he starts putting Peter's name on the newspaper. And I know this because it says that on the fucking, what's the word I'm looking for? The prop that they use for that newspaper. You can't see it in the movie because it's a little bit blurry, but if you actually see the prop that gets used, Peter Parker's name is written underneath the tagline. It's kind of funny.
for him to assume they could possibly be in cahoots with one another. And so from this point on in the movie, a considerable portion of New York turns on Spidey, as well as the city.
Which we never see besides the fucking newspaper. No one actually, like, voices that opinion out at any point, and anytime we see
He
Spider-Man
really
on
is
screen
drinking
was...
the JJ Kool-Aid.
Who?
I guess Anomaly really is drinking the JJ Kool-Aid.
He is. The only people that we see like actively going against Spider-Man are the police during the fire scene, but even they're like, please
Yeah.
go do the job. You're the only person who can save the person stuck inside there. I'll be waiting here when you get back. Fuck.
He's law enforcement. Hell, later, and even after he saves an infant from a burning building, a police officer tries to arrest him on sight. We will come back to
Yeah,
this
that's the
a bit
one
later
piece of
on, but
evidence.
The point is, New York hates Spidey and thinks of him as a criminal.
You just played the scene of a mother thanking him for saving her baby.
Even Spider-Man 2 doesn't agree with this.
No. No. In Spider-Man 2, there's like one person who's against him, again, besides JJ. And it's the guy at the start of the movie. He's like, whoa, he stole that guy's pizza! Everyone else is just pretty chill with him.
Yep.
Such a stupid fucking point to
Go,
make.
Spidey, go!
The majority is the mob who latch onto a lie, like sheep latching onto their shepherd. They believe the truth is whatever they're told, or whatever the news tells them, which is of course a version of the truth. A truth that New York will later see for themselves. The kryptonite, so to speak, of Green Goblin's philosophy against heroism. Before we move on,
he was
however,
fucking
I have
wrong.
heard a colossal dumbass argument about Jameson for this small detail in the movie. You see, after the Bugle was attacked...
Ooh. I feel
Oh,
like
I love
I'm
that
go-
we're doing this again.
Ooh,
Yes.
ooh. I feel very special now because I think he's gonna bring up the fucking Peter Parker name thing.
J. Jonah Jameson publicly outs Peter as Spider-Man's photographer
Yes!
and attaches his name to one of the best shots the Bugle has of the web slinger.
Wait, what
Essentially
the fuck? I
Why
can't
couldn't
even
you get
read
the
that.
fucking clear image, you daft cunt?
serving as a wanted poster for the city's outcry
Because that
for
would
Spider-Man to be brought
not
to
agree with
justice.
his point.
Now, apparently, Jameson giving up Peter as one of his sources for Spider-Man's photographs was character assassination.
You serious?
Wow, you can't make this shit up.
You probably could. In fact, you may have done that. I have no proof.
I mean, considering he was called a journalistic paragon and then immediately did the opposite,
Not
I'd
even a
say,
few
that
hours
falls
later.
under it.
Not-
Yeah,
not
so
even-
that falls under that.
Not even a few
tagline,
hours.
but-
It's not. This doesn't even happen a day later. It happens a few hours after Peter gets kidnapped by fucking Green Goblin. They're already printing out newspapers with his name on it.
Wait,
I think the
no.
question
Hang on,
is
isn't
more
it standard
how-
practice to credit the photographer in a newspaper?
It is.
I think it's
So
targeted.
this is the situation you face. You either have a situation where Green Goblin reads these newspapers but's too stupid to see who's credited for taking the photographs, or you have a situation where Peter isn't credited for taking the photos, goes to the Daily Bugle and threatens JJ, and then JJ's like, you know what? Fuck it, I'm gonna stop
Fuck that
crediting
guy.
Peter
Maybe
for...
Norman just doesn't read the Daily Bugle.
He does.
Doesn't
You
seem
see,
like a very popular newspaper.
You see him reading the newspaper several times in this movie.
The Daily Bugle specifically.
Yeah, there's one on
Uh,
his couch in the mask scene. I'm pretty sure.
Pretty sure it's the Daily Bugle, but yeah, I don't see why he wouldn't read the newspaper if he's
'Cause
trying
the
to find
Daily
out who
Bugle
takes
comes
the...
off like the fucking Daily Mirror in this universe, like a rag.
Who's the Daily Mirror?
Just a what's the term? Blanking on the fucking name for it. Gossip piece style stuff that distorts facts, very biased. I can't remember what the term is.
Well, even if they do distort the facts, if Peter's credited on the
His
newspaper...
name's on it.
and, yeah, if Peter's credited, and Norman reads that even once, Peter's done and dusted. So...
Yeah, it would help him piece things together if he read it. I just
Not
don't know
just
if he
that,
read
but
it.
if Norman reads the newspaper after this attack on the Daily Bugle, and we know for a fact Peter's name is on it because his name is there, and Norman even points this out, then Norman's like, oh, okay, well, I got who I wanted. Bye. He just goes and attacks Peter at his home, or just kidnaps him out of Harry's apartment. So, yeah.
Like, if he's prepared to literally blow up a building in the middle of downtown New York to get this information, I think he can read a couple of papers to try and
Not
figure
just
it
that,
out.
he's willing to kill the
It's
fucking
not a
head
matter of
journalist.
his ability to read papers. It's just whether he has the motivation to read them in the first place.
Here's the motivation to literally fucking choke someone to death for this information. What are you talking about? What?
Huh?
He's too lazy to read a newspaper, but not to blow up a fucking newspaper. Yeah.
What? I'm confused now.
You're making very confusing points. Why would he go through the effort of blowing up JJ and not read a newspaper? One requires significantly less effort than the other.
Wait, why was he even blowing up JJ in the first place?
To find out who took the photos of Spider-Man.
Oh.
That's the entire reason he goes there.
Oh, okay. I thought that was unrelated.
No.
Bruh.
That's fine. Look, we've got like maybe 2 minutes left of this before we're calling it quits today, so I don't mind melt mode. It's fine.
Poor
It's
Darth,
been a while.
poor brain.
He's frying.
Trust me, I
I'm
wish
having
I
memories
was,
of this film
because
actively removed from my brain and overwritten with Anomaly.
The worst fate imaginable.
Being reprogrammed.
Apparently, and this is the logic some people use, apparently
That's me.
it contradicted what happens moments ago when James...
I kind of just want him to cite my video, because I know for a fact his fans watched this and even covered it on their own stream, because I actually watched that stream. Uwe, do you remember this like a fucking while ago? We were making fun of the guy who was giving me shit for being pedantic, and then his only argument was you spelt a word wrong.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, that was an Anomaly fan. They did that in his server.
Nice.
I know for a fucking fact he's at least partially aware of my video, so this is really funny for me.
Jameson essentially
This is
saved
indirectly
Peter by
aimed at
not
me
giving
at
him up to the Goblin. Jameson saved him in the heat of the moment. It was a life or death situation, and the man showed true bravery in the face of death. But he didn't know there was a flying green psychopath looking to kill him for the information, now did he? Is Jameson, or anyone for that matter, going to allow themselves to be targets again? Nope. Fact of the matter is, Goblin had retreated and no one was in.
He's not going to allow himself to be a target again, but he's willing to die to keep that information in the heat of the moment. What?
Mega.
Omega 3, 6, and 9. Take your daily vitamins.
In any immediate danger, so they could give Peter ample warning to get to safety.
I need
And if that
substantially
wasn't
less
enough,
vitamin A.
Spider-Man is now wanted by law. I'd imagine Jameson would need to provide the source he was using
Wanted by
if it involves
law.
finding a felon to legitimize the photo.
Yet I'm also going to put my head fucking photographer for Spider-Man in danger by Public Enemies number 3 or 2 or whatever. I don't know.
Public enema.
I legitimately
Oh, no.
do not care.
Legitimately.
One of the reasons he fired Eddie Brock and had to print a retraction when the incriminating photos
Shows
against
his true
Spider-Man were
colours.
proven to be
Hey,
fake.
in the other
So for
movie.
those of you out there propagating this bullshit,
The reason why he had to fire Eddie is because his second lead photographer pointed out the fact that the footage or
He
the
photoshopped it.
Yeah, he photoshopped it in fucking what's the name of that thing? Photoshop. Yeah, let's go with Photoshop. He photoshopped it in Paint.net, okay? And he had the images. What's the word?
Why not just Photoshop? Photoshop was around then.
Paint.net. It's better. It's free. Empire
Vitamin
State.
or vitamin?
Empire
Well, you
State
just said the same thing twice.
confirms it.
Vicodin?
I think that's what it was. Yeah, someone confirmed it as fake images. So if JJ kept those photos and still used them after like his head photographer is like, "Yo, this shit's fake," he would have been in serious fucking trouble. So
With
that's
who?
why, well, just Peter in general and the general public. Not to mention he had like his second in command being like, "Yo, JJ, this shit's fucking faulty. Don't do it."
Would the public know they were fake?
Yes, I'm pretty sure you can make it aware that you can make the public aware that they're fake if Peter just takes this to another newspaper outlet. He's got more than enough evidence to prove it too.
no, Jameson's character wasn't assassinated. What are you, a moron?
Yes.
Wait, don't answer that. It's rhetorical. You probably
good
needed
one.
that pointed
Oh,
out
well,
to you as
I was the
well.
moron for saying
Anyway,
yes,
it
though,
cuts
so,
to
I don't know.
another, this time not so chance encounter between Mary Jane and Pete.
Actually, no. I think that's the end of that point, and I'm going to be wrapping it up there because, yeah, we still have another hour and 7 minutes left of this video, and I'd
I
like to
wanted
cover
to get
that next
to
week.
2 hours 29 minutes, so we only had exactly an hour left.
I kind of don't want to. I feel like an hour and 7 minutes is fine. We can get through that next week. He's wrapped it up nicely. He's now moved on to another point, so we can just end it there and just carry on next time. I
Alright.
I want to go and get some food too. I'm kind of hungry. But yeah, no,
Same.
that was part 2 of Anomaly.
Why did we do this? It was so boring.
Good question. This was recommended to us by someone, and I thought this would be a good way of coming back because Anomaly was like one of our more popular covering topic thingies
His
on
prequel
Ubercast.
videos were so much more entertaining than this.
See, the thing is, I didn't know that going in. I remember watching like 10 minutes of this video, and those 10 minutes were enough
I'm
for me
not
to go.
blaming you or anything, but it's a struggle to make this interesting.
Yeah, I know it is pretty fucking bad to make this interesting, but thankfully we only have one more of these to do, and then we get to move on to actually interesting
Woo,
content.
sunk
so...
cost fallacy. Let's go.
Yeah. I've already made the thumbnail. Don't make me regret my effort of like 5 minutes. But yeah, no, that's everything for today, folks. I'm just going to do this.
Thank you,
real
introverted
quickly.
robot. That is much appreciated.
We are going to be wrapping up, and we'll be continuing this video next week. Hopefully it won't take us as long then, because we're nearing the end of the movie.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Same spider time, same spider place.
Thank you for sharing your nuts
Goodbye.
with us, and we will see you next time.